Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
By gosh, make them work for it.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their court.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican for service Latino. I didn't ask you to interrupt me.
Is that correct?
I didn't ask you to interrupt me.
That's literally not true.
Oh, for crumb's sake.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
You especially won't go to court if it's bullshit charges because you get them thrown out.
All right, welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. Just playing with all the buttons this afternoon, making sure they still work. And they do. They're working. Welcome. Good to have everybody back here. Hello, hello, hello. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? I saw you there, Ayden. Welcome. Good to have you here, my friend. We need to talk. Where's my son? There's the noise. Turn that down just a tiny bit. Welcome back. Hope your lunch was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. I have to tell you that I don't have Tourette's, right? I don't have Tourette's, and I obviously I feel for anyone who does suffer from Tourette's. It's a real thing, right? But I had like the overwhelming urge on lunch as I was watching Mrs. R.A. eat pecans, like half-shelled pecans, and they're delicious. I'm like, I want to take them and feed them to the squirrels. I want to take them and feed them. It was as close to a Tourette's like experience as I've ever had. It was almost, I had to fight it off to keep from doing that. My hand wanted to just grab the bag and run out and feed the squirrels with it. And so as Mrs. R.A., we talk about everything. I told her, and she's like, no. And she took the bag and she put it away. And she says, but I got these almonds and I don't really like them. So I grabbed the almond bag and went out and made stacks of almonds in the yard for the pecan, in place of the pecans for the squirrels. So it's an obsessive compulsion. Yes, sometimes the squirrels are my enemies. Sometimes they're my friends. I guess I'm my own worst enemy in that one. That's not Tourette's. It's an intrusive thought. Thank you, Vern. I don't know what it is. The closest thing I could think of was Tourette's, where it seemed like there was no rationale behind it for me. But sometimes the pecans are your enemies. Yes, that one time, the sidewalk pecan, not good. Not good at all. Greeners, by the way, congratulations. You were first in chat. First on the screen as well. Congratulations. Everything IP-related worldwide is your fault. Your responsibility. Whatever happens in chat is probably your fault. But thank you, my friend, for winning once again, being first in chat. Somebody needed to do it. Ayden, back from the dead, is here to join us in the flesh. Hey, Ayden. I know you're busy man. Good to have you here. Glad you can pop in and join us. I like the new profile picture as well. That's great. Ayden, you missed it. We had a great phone call this morning from a gentleman who, well, I use the term gentleman loosely. He started out asking if I had Medicare Parts A and B or something, and I pretended to have problems with my hearing aid and was trying to turn it up and change the battery, and he went off on me and used all the bad words, except I think I'm not sure if he used the N word, but everything else he used. And I don't think that was called for. I mean, he did call me, but it wasn't called for him to do that. I was yanking his chain a little bit, but anyway. Oh, Cachette has already posted the clip link for that call. Oh, nice. Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Cachette. Glad you could be there for that. Anyway, we got that. I do disobey the judge's orders, and I regularly answer calls during court, and that just happened to be one of them. I'm sorry, now I have... I have the need of more water is what I have. Lucky for me, always at hand. I've got some more. Oh, he used the N-word. Oh, man, I did not hear that one. That's terrible. He used lots of bad words. He invited me to do lots of things that I have no interest in doing. Anyway, I hope all deaf people don't get the response. That's what I'm afraid they do. That's what makes it worse. And honestly, that's how I know it's a scam. Because there's no self-respecting company out there who has their agents on the phone making calls to people who need help with their Medicare Part C or whatever it is, that allow their employees to do that. That's how you know it's a scam. Except for Greeners, not a sponsor, clearly. Comcast, I'm sorry. Greeners is, he owns the internet. It's his fault. I wonder, hang on, let me just go check. I wonder if, while we wait, we are in court, right? We're not missing anything. So let me just check and see if, what YouTube thought of the show with that part in it. So let's look at the previous content. They thought it was all good. They thought it's all good. I've got a question. Why do I have... I have some... Cash Out, we need to talk. I think you've made some shorts for me that are still private. I don't know. I'm not sure if I've seen them yet, but anyway. I'm sorry. That's not what we came here for. We're about to start court in the Tower case, the Dima Tower case, which is we've been calling it the Adopt a Murderer trial, where Dima Tower is accused of stabbing to death his adoptive parents, his dad and then his mom. His mom escaped after being stabbed at least one time, severely. Went to the neighbor's house, pounded on the door, screamed for help. The neighbors woke up. By the time they got to the door, she was gone, blood everywhere. And she ended up going back to the house. Whether she was forced back, it sounds like he went out and sort of made her come back in the house. She ended up being killed and dying on the floor, just inches from her husband in that room. Then he got in the car. Speaking of he, there he is in the white shirt. Then he allegedly got in the car and led the police on a medium speed chase, about 80 miles an hour, 90 maybe was top speed, before encountering a spike strip that he was not able to outmaneuver. Then went on the run, evaded the police overnight in the woods, swimming through canals, gator-infested canals and swamps, and then was captured when he stopped at a Shell gas station for a little liquid refreshment in the morning, paying with a $50 bill, and got busted. So that happened. Let's see. It was sudden and uncalled for. I agree. I realized I was pulling the guy's leg a little bit, right, on the phone, by saying that I had hearing aids. I don't, but I do have hearing problems. I've had hearing problems for years. I suffer from fairly serious tinnitus in both ears, 2 different pitches. So I imagine 2. It's not like a chord. It's like 2 non-resonant. I mean, they're resonating, but they're not. Whatever the term is, you musicians help me out. They're not good notes. It's not like there's like a beautiful chorus in the background of everything. It's just high-pitched buzzing in both ears at different pitches. So I never hear silence anymore. It's actually one of the things I miss. Going out camping was the first time I discovered I had it. I lay down to sleep and it was silent. At least I thought it was silent. And then all I could hear was my ears ringing. And if you've got tinnitus, you can understand. You can't tell how loud it is when it's the only sound you hear. That makes sense? You can't detect that it's very quiet when there's no other sounds. It's everything, and so that's not fun. So I don't feel so bad selling I have hearing problems and I need to adjust my hearing aid. But we are waiting to go back to court here. The defendant is there. His lawyer is next to him. The lawyer, if you missed the opening statement from the lawyer, he gave it away. He said, "I'm not here to tell you to find my client not guilty of, murder. I'm just saying there are degrees of murder, right? It varies." There's an interruption there where his client burst out in tears, and we had a little break, and he came back and basically said, "Yeah, he did it, but is it first degree murder? We want manslaughter is what we want." So we do know that before this went to trial, at the last minute, the defense, yes, the defendant, through his lawyer, made an offer to the state saying, "Hey, would you accept if he pled guilty to manslaughter and got 40 years? 40 years in custody." And they said no. So there you go. Gigi Sharebear, I have tried a number of different things. Never any device, but there's actually a routine you can do with your head at different angles at different times for an amount of time that lessens it for a short while, but it always just comes right back. Starting to feel that RA does feel bad lying to the scammer. He doth protest too much. I will sleep like a baby with tinnitus tonight. I will not have. Here's what I know. Every minute that I'm on the phone with that scammer is a minute that scammer cannot be taking advantage of somebody who thinks that they're about to lose their coverage if they don't do what he says, and is about to give their information to a legitimate person who that scammer will transfer them to, maybe even with a legitimate company. But that scammer is going to harvest, as the man in the middle, all their personal details, social security number, address, name, age, birthday, things like that, to use for identity theft, and possibly to use against them later in other scams to try to extort money from them. I don't feel bad at all that I'm saving people from that. Not in the slightest. Yes, timestamp 107, just after the hour mark. I'm so glad it came after the hour mark. I think if it were in the first hour, YouTube might have doinked us for that. That's probably not a good word. Zoinked us. Zoinked is better. The quieter it is, the louder the ring, and I have it too. There. That's the best way to say it. After that scammer, I'll never feel bad for a scammer again. If you're having ear issues now, it could be related to the solar flares. It's because I went out without the tin foil over my ears. That's the problem. But, yes, I was speechless. I was not ready. I realized that it can escalate, but I was not ready for it to escalate so quickly. But anyway, just got an email from Medicare warning about scammers. Yes, because it's open enrollment period, this is their cash cow time. And the worst part is they actually do put you in touch with somebody who can help you if you're in the situation that qualifies. But that person does not know you were referred by a scammer. They do not know that somebody is in the middle listening in to the phone call, even though you can't hear them, listening. And we tested this. Remember when we actually went through the whole step and got to the insurance agent on the other side? Looks like court's going to start in just a second. And then I said, yeah, so-and-so, he transferred the call to me, your call center transfer, and he hung up on them. He cut off the call and told me, no, don't say that, just say this, and sent me to another company. It's a bad deal. Bad people out there, I say.
All the jurors up? Okay. State, do you have your witness here?
Yes.
All right, is the state ready to proceed?
It is.
Defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring the jurors in.
I'm not sure what everybody had for lunch, but it's very muted there in the courtroom, sort of quiet. Not a lot of energy in the state's voice there. I need to raise my camera a little bit. This could be bad because it could go just flying off. Yeah, that was too much. Now too far. Medical examiner is the witness we expect, the one the state is going to end with. And there are a lot of injuries. I'm sure we're not going to specify every single one, the depth and the angle. We're probably going to have to group them into batches because there are so many. Each parent receiving roughly 70 to 80 individual stab wounds. So buckle up for that. This is going to be a rough part. What was the motive? He just didn't like him. Didn't like America. Didn't like anyone who was American. Shelley Kelly, good luck in your job interview in advance.
All right, everybody may be seated. Welcome back, members of the jury. All right, State, please call your next witness.
State calls Dr. Russell Ayden.
We do have a rage and anger counter. Anytime anger, rage, or you just went off or just exploded, some sort of terminology to indicate that there was a rage type action. If the words are mentioned, or if the lawyers get a little feisty in court, it goes on the rage counter, or the judge or witness or something. So, but probably add to a few more here this afternoon.
Yes, I do.
Michael Rogers, hello. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Are you ready, State?
Yes, thank you.
Add a spam call.
Sure, Your Honor.
I'm going to add him. That's a good call. That open monitor is why we can't just stare at the witness while gruesome graphics are on the screen, because we would still see some of these very gruesome images. Some may be shown, though. Just be aware. Full confession, I save all the lanyards from every event. I am a cameraman.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
I've got dozens and dozens.
Will you
of
please
them.
tell us your full name and spell your last name?
My full name is Russell Scott Vega. The last name is spelled V-E-G-A.
Dr. Vega, what is your profession?
I'm a forensic pathologist or medical examiner.
All right. And what are the duties of a medical examiner?
The medical examiner's job is to investigate certain deaths. Those deaths are specified in statute or state law. And more or less, the deaths that the medical examiner is supposed to investigate are non-natural deaths, violent deaths, deaths that occur as a result of anything other than natural disease.
All right. And what is your jurisdiction as a medical examiner?
As the district medical examiner for this current district of District 12, my jurisdiction includes DeSoto and Manatee counties, as well as Sarasota County.
Will you tell the jury a little bit about your formal education, please?
Certainly. I got my undergraduate degree at Florida State University. I majored in physics and biochemistry at FSU. After graduating there, I went to medical school at the University of South Florida in Tampa. Following medical school, I did 2 years of training in general surgery and then 4 years of training in anatomic and clinical pathology. And pathology is the subspecialty of medicine that deals with diagnosing diseases by looking at fluids, different laboratory tests, biopsies, organs removed at surgery, and by doing autopsies. And after all of that, I did a 1-year fellowship or subspecialty year in forensic pathology, and that's the branch of pathology which specializes in autopsy and in death investigations.
What is an autopsy?
An autopsy is an examination that is performed on somebody who's died. And that exam can be performed for different reasons, but generally it's to identify any diseases, complications, anatomic abnormalities, injuries, or other things which might be of interest to either doctors who order that or in our realm for medical examiner autopsies to figure out what the cause and the manner of death are.
All right, thank you. So I want to take you back to September 3rd of 2023, Doctor.
He hasn't decided yet if he's going to testify.
Yes.
Did you go to the death scene in this case?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell the members of the jury what are the advantages or the reasons for a medical examiner such as you to go to the death scene itself?
By examining the scene of a death where the body is still there, there is certain information which can be gathered, which can be helpful in the coming process of doing the autopsy at some later point, or to gather information which might be useful for law enforcement or other agencies at that point in their investigation. Some of the things that are of value in that scene investigation then are the ability to try to put together the circumstances that led up to the death, the evaluation of where the actual injuries that led to death occurred and whether or not they occurred elsewhere or at the site where the body was, and to get an idea of what the nature of the injuries or potential injuries, before we get out there, perhaps we don't know, but the nature of the injuries that led to the person's death. Finally, we might get information that leads us to a rough estimate of how long a person has been deceased and at that site.
Okay, and that is a rough estimate, isn't it, Doctor?
Very rough, yes.
Okay, because on TV shows, you always have a detective saying, how long has this person been dead? And the doctor says 2 hours and 27 minutes. Is that possible?
It is possible with certain elements, such as some kind of device which is tracing an individual's vital signs at the time, or even better, a surveillance video or something of that nature.
Right.
But just based on the autopsy findings, it can almost never be that precise.
Okay, thank you. So after you went to the death scene and did that examination that you talked about, looking at the circumstances surrounding it, the nature of the wounds, etc., did there come a time when the bodies of Robbie and Jennifer Tower were transported to the morgue?
Yes.
Okay. And did you perform an autopsy on both Mr. and Mrs. Tower, Robbie and Jennifer Tower?
Yes, I performed autopsies on each of them.
When did those autopsies take place?
So the autopsies were performed on September 3rd of 2023.
Okay. Doctor, I'm showing you have been marked for identification as States Exhibit 34A through 34K, and that includes double G, so 34G and 34 double G. Take a look at those for me, please.
Certainly.
Sorry, I have to crank the audio so I hear her, and he's talking right into the mic. Is he getting paid by the hour? How many pictures were in the stack? It's like he's reminiscing about every photograph.
I've reviewed them.
Do you recognize these photos, Doctor, as the photographs that were taken at the time you autopsied the body of Robbie Tower?
They are, yes.
Are they a true and accurate depiction of the procedure of the autopsy that you conducted?
They are.
Your Honor, I'm offering State's Exhibit 34A, 34B, 34C, 34D, 34E, F, G, 34GG, 34H, 34I, 34J, and 34K. Into evidence, please.
Any objection to 34A through K and double G?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right,
No
they'll
objection.
be admitted. You may publish them at your leisure.
Thank you.
Even on redundancy issues? Cumulative?
Thank you.
If all these injuries were in the same general area, which is, above the waist, usually shoulders and up, it seems like a lot of pictures to show.
Is it routine practice, Doctor, to take photographs during the course of the autopsy?
It is.
Why?
Photographs are the best form of documentation that we have, especially for external findings on the body. I can make notes, I can make verbal descriptions of findings, but nothing conveys the nature of many findings, especially injuries on the body, like a photograph does.
Let's look first at State's Exhibit 34A. And we're going to talk about some of the markings that you have as part of the autopsy procedure, specifically the letters that we find on Mr. Tower's body.
Yes.
So we're going to go first, even though this is not in chronological or numerical order on your autopsy report, but we're going to go first to the stab wounds on Robbie Tower's face, please.
Yes.
And by the way, were you able to document how many stab wounds were inflicted on Mr. Tower?
I was, although the determination is, it may not be exactly what somebody else would have determined with the same findings, because there's such a variation in terms of how deep or how severe or superficial the injuries are, that some of them I didn't classify necessarily as a counted stab wound or cut wound, but I did note the other injuries in my report.
Interesting qualification there, saying other people might have counted this differently than I did.
So in total, for Mr. Tower, I counted 68 stab or cutting type wounds, with more that were small or superficial or subtle wounds that were probably sustained in the same way, but not totally characteristic stab or cut wounds.
But at least 68 distinctive stab wounds that you could identify as such.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So let's look now at State's Exhibit 34A, and I'd like to talk about the wounds that you cataloged on the face of Mr. Tower. So let's talk about those, if you would, please.
Certainly.
So we can start anywhere you like, Doctor. If you want to start on the upper right cheek.
Starting on the upper right cheek, upper left cheek.
Certainly. So the injuries that we see on the face here are this largest wound, which was labeled with the letter H, the much smaller and very superficial wound labeled T here, and then the wound on the chin labeled I. And I think it's maybe important to notice that, or to note that when I was assigning these letters, to some extent, it was largely a random application. I did it based on the letters I had at the time and what I was examining at the time, and it doesn't have any correlation to timing or anything else with the injuries.
I understand. Thank you.
So of these, H is the most visible on the skin, obviously. I believe, is 2 separate wounds which are just joined. In other words, they were very close together and seemed to form one single wound. Of these wounds, none of them cause any major injury. The injuries really just involve soft tissue only.
And in addition to these that we can see in 34A, I want to move to 34B. And take a look at the wound that you called S, which was also included as a stab wound to the face.
Yes.
Can you please tell us a little bit about this wound?
This wound is a wound which involves the back edge of the ear. So this is the left ear. So in this photo, the nose would have been oriented here, and the back of the head here, the neck over here. And this wound essentially cut through all of the tissue over the back edge of the ear, essentially at the same level as the ear canal here.
Right, next, let's look at 34C, please. Now we're going to move on to your recitation of the stab wounds of the back. And the back of the neck, I should say. So let's look at this photograph, 34C, and there's quite an extensive amount of lacerations here. So would you please just start wherever you like and talk about them?
So all of these injuries are relatively similar, meaning that are all injuries that are inflicted with a sharp instrument like a knife. There are some which are longer on the skin than others, or that are wider. I would not take that to mean that they were inflicted with a different instrument. They might all have been inflicted with the same instrument. It depends on what's done with that knife once it's in the skin. It's very easy to flex a little bit along the skin with the blade and cause the stab wound to be longer on the skin. And also the tension on the skin is what determines how wide the injury appears here. So even though these injuries on the back of the neck and the upper back have varying appearances, they all were potentially really sustained in the same way with a stab with a knife. Of these injuries, the vast majority of all of these, that includes the clusters of injuries on the back of the neck, the very upper back here, and lower in the back, that for the most part, these injuries involved only soft tissue and did not penetrate to any deeper major blood vessels or organs.
So would a person have been able to survive if they had only sustained these injuries and even the ones on the face?
Potentially, yes. Long-term complications, of course, could ensue, but in the short term, yes.
I understand. Okay. So I would also like to go to 34D because that's hard to see in this photograph. And there's a stab.
This here? Is this?
No,
Oh.
I'm sorry, my 34D.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I'm sorry, Doctor. Photograph 34D. Because there's a stab wound on the neck end, which I'd like you to talk about. And I wasn't able to find a photograph that included that on the larger 34C. So can you tell us a little bit about N?
Yes, although It will help if I refer to my records here. And
Refresh your recollection, yes.
yeah, and
It appears to be a cluster of a number of wounds that you just cataloged as M.
yes. So this cluster is involving the left side of the neck. What I describe in my report is it's posterolateral, meaning it's the side of the neck and toward the back, so the back left side of the neck. And there are several stab wounds that you see here. I counted this as 5, but some of the stab wounds I think that you can see on the edges of this photo were included in another grouping.
I don't know if he's reliving this. As soon as they mention neck, he removes his.
And go to a wound on the scalp. We're going to look at State's Exhibit 34E.
I don't know what I'm seeing either. He seems fixated on the display, but his body language is
And that's going to be the
conflicting.
first wound that you talked about in your report.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about this.
For orientation, this is the top of the scalp. So this is the very edge of the left ear that you're seeing here. The right ear would be more or less over here in this photograph if it were extended. And this is a short stab wound, essentially right to the top of the head.
Superficial as well.
It is. Of all the injuries that we've discussed so far, none of them, with the possible exception of one, really caused any significant deeper injury. It was all soft tissue injury.
Okay. Let's move next to State's Exhibit 34F. And now we're going to talk about the left side of the neck.
Yes.
And the injuries that were inflicted to Mr. Tower. It looks like there's a lot of clusters there. You can just go through that for the members of the jury, please.
Yes. And I would point out that we've already looked at in closer detail at this cluster here and at the injury to the left ear here. What we really haven't seen before is this cluster over the left upper neck and cheek area. It's labeled J, and then these other clusters which are at the base of the neck and over the top of the shoulder region here that are M, L, R, K, and G.
Now I'm going to I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, and I'm going to go to the larynx because that's how you discussed it in your report. So let's look now
Larynx.
at State's 34G. And first of all, will you tell the members of the jury, might be oversimplifying, you probably know this already, but where is the larynx located?
So the larynx is the medical word for the voice box. The front part of the larynx is what you feel in your neck, is the Adam's apple. What we see in this photograph is the larynx removed from the neck. And for orientation, this is the base of the tongue here. So this is the front of the specimen. This is the back of the specimen. This is the larynx structure itself, and the larynx has a cartilaginous backing to it that can be pretty hard. I opened that so that I could look at the internal surface of the larynx. This is the epiglottis, and that's the flap which closes over your airway when you're swallowing or eating. This is your vocal cord here and here. This structure is called the false vocal fold. It looks like a vocal cord, but it's not. The rest of what we see is injury. There's some bruising here and a cut here in this tissue to the side of the larynx. And then there are large cuts here, here, there, and here. There's also one there that you can see a little bit of bruising from on the other side here, which these cuts go through the full thickness of the tissue. And these were cuts which were the end points of stab wounds which originated on the neck. Some of those we've seen, those were the stab wounds of the left side of the neck, mostly in that J cluster. And then on the right side, probably at least one was from some wounds on the right side of the neck that we have not looked at yet.
Defendant is not doing well.
Were you able to see in this, in Mr. Towers?
His lawyer should be paying attention to that.
I found 6.
Now, I also see some, what is that white, is that used as a trajectory rod? Is that white thin
We like greeners.
object that we see on? No.
He's just a handful some days.
This is really, it's just a small wooden stick that I improvised to use to hold this open because there's a lot of tension here. And if I don't have something holding it open, it'll close and you won't be able to see the structures here as well. So I just used this essentially to prop it open so I could photograph the findings.
Four Paws 007, very much so. He's been staring at the table
Yes,
the whole
these
time
are
until those pictures.
what we call forceps. They're like tweezers.
Let's look at another picture of the larynx, please. Maybe might be helpful. This is 34 double G. And can you just orient us? Is there anything on this photograph that helps the jury to see those 6 separate perforations of the larynx?
Well, the perforations here to the side, I think you get a better feel for the extent of this. This is I'm encircling the opening here on the left side of the larynx. You can see that one perhaps a little more clearly too, and then you can better appreciate the bruising you see in the tissue adjacent to that here in the soft tissue or mucosa which forms the wall of the larynx on both the left side and the right side here too to some extent.
What happens to somebody's larynx or voice box when they sustain this kind of injury?
It would certainly impede your ability to vocalize or speak. Because the larynx isn't transected, it's hard to know exactly what that effect would be. It's possible that one still could have been able to vocalize or speak some, but it's also possible that that might have been greatly impaired.
Thank you. I'd like to go to State's Exhibit 34H now, and we're going to look at some more injuries to Mr. Towers' face and his head. So can you please tell us about T?
Yes, T is a single stab wound.
I thought tea was a drink with jam and bread.
Separate that out for you.
That's found under your...
Yes.
Yeah, on page.
So T does, even though it's not particularly long, it does potentially go deep to the level of where the carotid artery was. And unfortunately, because there's a lot of injuries which are coalescent under the skin, it didn't allow me necessarily to be able to correlate a single individual internal injury with the stab wound on the outside that caused it, because they commingled as the stab wounds went into the tissue. But it's possible that T caused an injury to the carotid artery, which is deep there.
So are you telling us that you don't know if T was the entrance point to injure the carotid artery, or that you're not sure if the carotid artery was actually injured?
The carotid artery was injured. I just wasn't sure which stab wound caused it.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And then let's look at O, that's on Mr. Towers' temple, or above his ear.
Yes. So O is not a deep injury, and normally I wouldn't necessarily have categorized that as one of the injuries that I would count and put a separate letter to. But in this case, I chose to do that to accentuate this particular finding. This is a scrape on the skin, what we call an abrasion. And the reason that I included this is it's a patterned abrasion. The pattern consists of multiple parallel lines that are perpendicular to this single line here and extending downward from that. You see 3 or 4 of them there pretty clearly. I believe this is the same thing here, but they're blending together in this broader area of scraping here. This injury was probably sustained as a single impact or brush with a knife or possibly some other implement. Maybe this was from 2 impacts, one causing this and the other causing this with the scraping, almost looking like the teeth of a comb there.
All right, thank you. Then, I know that there were numerous stab wounds to Mr. Towers' right and left shoulders, but I want to move on to stab wounds of the chest, please. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to 34A so that we can look at those again. So we use this photograph, 34A, to talk about the wounds on Mr. Towers' face. Now I'd like to see if we can't focus on his chest, of which there are 4 wounds. So let's talk about those 4 perforations, please.
Certainly. The 4 I think you're referring to are the labeled injuries of F, C, B, and A. There are a few smaller superficial injuries that are really scratches, essentially, up here, at the top left of his chest, and then down here on the upper part of the right side of his abdomen. Those are the kind of injuries I was talking about before that I didn't necessarily number, but were additional injuries that he had sustained. With regard to the 4 numbered ones, though, A is the largest of these and perhaps thus draws your attention most immediately. These are all shorter on the skin. All of these penetrated some distance into the soft tissue. None of these injuries really caused, or these stab wounds caused any deeper injury, only soft tissue injury, with the possible exception of B, which probably nicked the internal mammary artery. It's a small artery which runs inside, well, on the underside of the sternum. And based on the way that the dissection is done, I thought that B had nicked that artery, but it was just hard to tell. It would have been a small injury. Over time, it could have caused some significant bleeding, but not one that I would have expected to immediately cause death.
So again, with these 4, if medical assistance had been forthcoming, they would not have been fatal.
That's correct.
I'd also like to look at stab wounds at the back. Can you have those cataloged on page 9 of your report? And again, I'm going to revisit one of my exhibits, states 34C. So let's talk about those wounds to Mr. Towers' back, please, his upper back.
Yes, so the injuries to his back, especially if you mean by upper back, all these that you can see in the letters.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Again, these are injuries which are of different sizes and shapes, but all, in my opinion, sustained in the same way with a stab wound by an instrument like a knife. Of these, I have small clusters such as DD, and then I have individual injuries like FF, BB, EE, and GG, and a small cluster here of HH. Of all of these injuries, there was only one which was in the cluster of DD, which caused more than just soft tissue injury. And one of those in DD appears to have caused a small injury in the spinal cord by passing deep enough to go past the spine, the bones around the spinal cord, and to nick the spinal cord there.
Then I'm going to go to 34I to continue with the injuries to the back.
It'd say that his dad blamed him for breaking up the marriage between his dad and his mom, adoptive parents. They were still married, so I'm not sure if he just meant
So this encompasses
causing
the
problems.
injuries that we just saw and a few more that are down on Mr. Tower's left side, sort of his shoulder there, on his left shoulder, and also on his left arm.
Yes.
So can you just briefly go through those?
Yes. So this is an injury to the back of his left shoulder, an injury to his lower left chest on the side, and an injury to his left forearm. Of these, this is again the most visually noticeable of the injuries, and I would call this more of a slashing kind of injury. It was not extremely deep, but does have a broad length on the skin. This involved only soft tissue without any other major injury, as did this injury I. The stab wound K went a little more deeply and did have a little penetration into the lung cavity, which is right below there. And it put a small stab wound into the lower lobe of the left lung. It was a small penetration, and there was very little bleeding, and there was really no collapse of the left lung on that side. So I think over time that could have been a potentially serious injury, but I believe that Mr. Tower died before it had a chance to manifest it being more serious, and that it really didn't cause him any particular impairment during the time of his life following the first infliction of injuries till the time he passed.
Now, there are also numerous injuries on the upper and lower, especially the upper extremities, the arms, left and right arms, and also some to the legs, both the right and left leg. But I want to talk to you about defensive wounds, if any. Did you see any sign of defensive wounds?
He did have injuries to his hands, which can be considered or might be described by some people as defensive wounds.
Okay, so let's look at those photographs, which are 34J, and I have another one that's just a close-up of 34J, 34K. When you look at those, can you tell if those are defensive wounds?
What I can tell you is that this particular injury is consistent with a knife blade coming across the finger like this. And it's characteristic of the kind of injury one would sustain while trying to grab a knife.
You told us that, based upon your count, it appeared that Mr. Tower sustained approximately 68, give or take, 68 wounds. Can you tell us what was the specific cause of Mr. Tower's death?
Yes. Despite the vast number or the high number of those stab wounds, the stab wounds that really were significant were the ones in the neck that ended up injuring a couple of different large vessels. The carotid artery we've already talked about was one. Another artery was the subclavian artery, which is the artery that goes from the aorta over to the shoulders. It goes through the base of the neck. Of course, there were many other smaller vessels which were cut as a result of all of these stabs. It was the bleeding from all of those injuries, especially the carotid and subclavian arteries, but all of those injuries which were his cause of death.
And do you have an opinion as to the manner of Mr. Tower's death?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that opinion is, please?
In my opinion, the manner of death was and remains homicide.
I want to move on now to Jennifer Towers, please.
They didn't offer him a plea. He asked for a plea of manslaughter in 40 years, and the state said no.
Dr. Vega, I'm showing you would have been marked for identification as States Exhibit 33A through 33Q. Look at those for me, please.
Oh, bummer, Emily. I'm sorry. Hopefully there's a better one out there for you. I'm going to just put my mic on mute while I take the spam call. Let's try to keep the conversation focused on the facts of the case that have been introduced here. If that's all right. Thank you, thank you.
Do you recognize these photographs as having been taken during the autopsy of Jennifer Tower?
I do.
Are they a true and accurate depiction of Jennifer Tower at the time of her autopsy in September of 2023?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm offering States Exhibit 33A through 33Q into evidence.
No objection.
33A through Q will be admitted. You may publish them at your leisure.
Let's see if his response is any different as the pictures of his
As to
mom
Jennifer
get
Tower,
posted.
Dr. Vega, were you able to count the number of penetrating stab wounds and superficial wounds that were inflicted?
Yes.
How many?
As with Mr. Tower, there were some small injuries that I did not include in that count, but the injuries that I did categorize that way totaled 79.
First place, I would like to look are the stab wounds to Ms. Tower's face, and we're going to be reviewing State's Exhibit 33A. And if you would just start wherever you like, Doctor, and just describe for the members of the jury what your findings were.
Well, as you described, this is a photograph of the left side of Ms. Tower's face, and here we have fairly distinct single marked stab wounds A, B, C, and D, and then there's a large cluster here designated as E, which you can see some but not all of, and then there's this cluster at the very upper part of the left side of the chest, perhaps you might say the top of the shoulder, designated as F. But focusing maybe on these four, A, B, C, and D, these were injuries which, like the other injuries that we've seen in Mr. Tower, are different sizes and shapes, different amounts of gaping, but basically all consistent with stabbing by the same or similar knives. All of these injuries involved the soft tissues and no real major vascular or vital organ injuries. So like very similar actually to Mr. Tower, the facial injuries largely superficial.
Okay, let's go to 33B, please. And now we're looking at the right side of Jennifer Tower's face and neck. Can you describe this group of, this cluster of stab wounds, please?
Yes, this cluster of stab wounds we see here is remarkable for a couple of things. And maybe one thing that I didn't point out as much in the other cluster as well is that those stab wounds, not A, B, C, and D, but the E ones, you know, we didn't really talk about this, so I'll save that for later. I apologize.
Well, I won't remember it later.
I will.
He says,
So in W, what we see here
later.
is that they're all essentially parallel to each other. They're all horizontal to the ground. It's not a very tight cluster, but the fact that all of these are roughly parallel to one another suggests that these were all inflicted on or at about the same time, with the position of the assailant and Ms. Tower here not changed. And to me, that suggests that she was already incapacitated at the time that these injuries were sustained. Of these, and I'm going to have to refer to my notes here. These involved a lot of soft tissue underlying. One of these perforated superficially into the right side of the larynx. One caused injury to the internal jugular vein, and one caused a transection or complete cutting of the carotid artery near the skull base. Like previously, I can't tell you which of these injuries specifically here caused which internal injury, because once you get past the skin, they commingled too much and I was unable to separate the tracks.
But perforations of the carotid artery and the jugular vein are lethal, may not be Are they lethal?
Would be expected to be lethal, yes.
And then how many specific stab wounds do we find in this grouping?
I describe this as 14 separate wounds. There are a couple, like this looks like it might be one long wound, but I counted this as 2 separate wounds. It appeared to have 2 separate tracks, at least for a brief time, under the skin.
And you said that the assailant and Ms. Tower, the victim, were essentially in the same position for all of these stabbing?
That's what the clustering suggests, yes.
Thank you. Let's go now to State's Exhibit 33C. And now we're looking at the left side of Ms. Tower's face, her upper cheek. And let's talk about these injuries, please.
So this is almost a mirror image of what we saw in the last photo, the left side of the face. So here's the left ear. And of these injuries, you can see D and a little bit of B here that we already described. This cluster, very much like W, has many injuries which are all at essentially the same orientation. They're all relatively parallel to one another. And this clustering suggests that the injuries were all sustained at or about the same point in time, where the assailant and Ms. Tower were not moving relative to one another. Again, likely that she was already incapacitated at this time. These injuries also became commingled underneath the skin, so I was unable to specifically separate out the wound tracks of them as they went deeper, but at least one of them injured the left internal jugular vein. So we saw an injury to the right internal jugular vein from the other side, and this cluster of injuries caused at least one injury to the left internal jugular vein.
What is the function of the jugular vein, Doctor?
The jugular vein brings all of the blood from the brain and much of the face and the other tissues of the head and neck down to go back to the superior vena cava and back to the heart.
What is the function of the carotid arteries?
The carotid arteries on each side are the main arteries which supply blood to the brain. They also supply blood to the eyes and the facial muscles and essentially all the structures and tissues in the head.
Let's look now at States 33D, and this is going to be another cluster of wounds.
This is particularly vicious, especially with after they're incapacitated, he continues the attack.
Yes.
Could you tell us about that grouping?
Yes, I have a small grouping of injuries labeled X. There are other injuries, Y, A, Z. Perhaps we'll see in other photos, but these injuries are to the back left side of the neck. So this is that cluster that we just looked at in E. And these injuries involve soft tissue, but no major vascular or vital structure injury.
Just a reminder, if you've got questions about moderation decisions, please bring them to me. We don't address them in chat. If you ask in chat, we'll delete those.
Would you describe that as a
I'll answer
cluster,
all of them.
or are they too far apart to be a cluster?
I think a cluster is a reasonable description for how I chose to document and photograph these injuries. They have similarity to the other ones that we've seen, the other clusters, in that the injuries are relatively parallel. They're not quite as tightly clustered, and there is a little variation in the angle, but I suspect that these injuries were also sustained in a similar way after Ms. Tower was essentially incapacitated.
And just to remind the jury, when you first arrived at the death scene, describe how the victims were lying. Were they prone or supine?
They were both prone, meaning they were lying face down.
So Ms. Towers would have been in this position and so would Mr. Towers. Mr. and Mrs. Towers would have been in this position face down when these wounds were inflicted. If what you say, well, I know you can't.
If what you say is true.
That, but
Objection, counsel, testifying.
Sustained.
Look at the hands.
Would these wounds have been inflicted after Ms. Towers was incapacitated?
I believe so, yes.
Now I want to talk about the stab wounds to Jennifer Towers' chest. So I'm going to move on to State's Exhibit 33F. And this is a close-up, doctor, so if you can just tell us about O and P and the injuries and the damage to Ms. Towers' body.
Give me just a moment, please.
It would be on 5 and going over to 6. Page 5 and 6.
Yes. Okay. This is this particular photograph doesn't have landmarks to guide the location, so I wanted to make sure I was looking at the right part in my report.
This was for a matter of decency, so
I understand. So these two are on the left lateral side of the chest. So the area of the chest is lateral and upper. So in this region here, what we might call the upper flank. As you can see, they're relatively close together, but not overlapping, and have a similar orientation. But unlike the other injuries that we saw that were like that, there's only 2 of them. It's not not a larger number, so I don't think I would designate this as a cluster. But there are 2 separate stab wounds there that have similar paths. They both involve soft tissue, and the wound O here just goes deep enough to penetrate into the left lung cavity. But that's all. It didn't go any deeper, so it didn't even injure the left lung at all.
right. Now I'd like to move on to stab wounds of Jennifer Towers' back. We're going to be looking at State's Exhibit 33G. What's significant about this photograph and the injuries that are depicted, Doctor?
So for reference, we've already talked about these wounds up here in the neck, clusters E and X. I mentioned Z briefly, but we didn't describe it any further. And then we have what I grouped as E and C and B. Of these injuries, I think you'll notice right off that they don't have that same clustering effect of being closer together and parallel in the same orientation. So I can't really make any opinion as to how or what order or what the relative condition Ms. Tower would have been in at the time that these injuries were sustained. Of all of them, BBCC and EE, all of them involve only soft tissue and no significant deeper injuries.
You also found during the autopsy stab wounds of Jennifer Towers' right shoulder, and those are depicted on State's Exhibit 33H. Can you address these injuries, please?
Yes, and this particular photograph really highlights injury Q here. There's an injury R here, which you see most of, but not all of here. That's at a different orientation, but close by to Q. These are essentially similar to O and P that we saw before. Two wounds that are relatively close by, but don't have the same orientation. Of these, neither one of them causes any particular underlying injury, just soft tissue injury.
Let's move on to Ms. Towers' right arms. Right arm. And we're going to look at State's Exhibit 33I. Can you talk about these two injuries that you've labeled M?
Yes. So M has, actually, I'm going to take a moment to review what I have written here. I want to make sure I get this correct. Yes.
Watching the number of times he sits up, like readies himself for these pictures.
Okay.
Locks eyes with
so
the images.
In this particular photo, we see two injuries, one of which has its letter covered. This is a superficial injury. It does not involve anything but the subcutaneous fat. M is a deep injury which traverses the skin and goes through the muscle and actually exits the arm on the other side. And that injury is separately designated as a letter in my photographs and documentation, but you can't see that injury in this particular photo. It's on the other side. Part of what's bridging these here is a superficial scratch. This really has nothing to do with the internal track that, of the blade as it injured the soft tissues between the entry here and as it stuck out the skin on the other side, which you don't see, and I have designated as S. Yeah.
Right, we'll look at that in a moment.
Yeah.
All right, so again, we're looking at M. S, unfortunately, is hard to see, although there's a tab there, a sticker on the far side, but your trajectory rod goes from M through into S.
Yes, and you can see the other end of the rod here, and we use these trajectory rods simply to demonstrate when an injury does pass all the way through the body, and when it does so clearly, so that these are inserted when the path through the tissue is already clear, just to demonstrate that for photography purposes.
So based upon what we're seeing, Doctor, did the cutting instrument or knife or whatever was used, did that go from M all the way through, is it a through and through stab?
It is.
What about K? Wound K?
K is longer on the skin than it is deep, so it might be best classified as a cut or a slash, and thus is relatively superficial, did not cause any major underlying injury. And I believe the same is true for this injury here, which is J, which we can just barely see at the edge of the photo there.
Let's move on now to 33L, and there's J.
Yes.
So, again,
J.
we're looking at a through and through.
We are, and it's very superficial, this one. The other one, you can see S here now without the trajectory rod through it. That's M was over here, and the trajectory rod passed through here to S. Here we see a very superficial wound that was just long and deep enough to have a small exit over here on the edge, if you will, of the wrist area, as opposed to the middle of the forearm here.
These two injuries that we looked at M into S and then J. Are you able to say whether those are defensive wounds because they're on the victim's arm?
I think they're consistent with using the arms for self-defense during a knife assault. Some might characterize that then as being a defensive wound.
Now we're going to look at Ms. Towers' right hand. And what do we see here?
So this is the palm of her right hand, and this photograph was taken as the body was received by us, so before any cleaning was done. But even so, you can see the clear stab wound on the thumb side of the palm here next to the base of the thumb.
Okay, and moving to the next photograph. And they're related, so we see at the base of the thumb, and then we see at the base of the thumb on the opposite side of the hand. So what's going on with these two?
Yes, so this is an entrance and exit pair as we identified previously. The stab wound essentially passes through the soft tissue of the side of the hand at the base of the thumb and injured the underlying tissues, but no bone or anything more major than that.
Let's look at the left arm. States Exhibit 33O.
Emily Gallia, 12 months. Congratulations.
It is. It passes. This cut wound goes just a little bit deeper than the subcutaneous fat there, but does not involve any deeper structures and certainly no major vessels or vital organs.
33P.
P shows us two injuries. H, which is slashing type or deep cutting injury that again involves only the subcutaneous fat, and I is a penetrating injury that involves the skin and soft tissues, but does not go particularly deep and does not cause any additional major injury.
And is this Mrs. Towers' left leg? Back of the left leg?
Correct.
Now I want to talk about Jennifer Towers' larynx. It appears that you removed both larynx from each victim. So what did you find that was distinctive about Jennifer Towers' larynx?
She did have a single stab perforation of the larynx here, but there were no deeper injuries. There were no stabs throughout the area through which the air actually passes. So the structures here were all intact. That's why the only photo I took here, I did not include that propping stick so that you could open up and see what was internal. There were no findings that were significant in here, just this one superficial perforation into the larynx. And I think it's worth noting that this is the inner surface of the upper portion of the larynx here. So the stab wound came from the outside through this in, but didn't go any deeper.
Thank you, DSN, for the super sticker.
Doctor, after performing the autopsy on Jennifer Towers, were you able to form an opinion as to the cause of Jennifer Towers' death?
I was, yes.
What is and was your opinion?
Similar to Mr. Tower, I determined her cause of death to be perforations of multiple small and large blood vessels, including the carotid artery and jugular vein, due to multiple stab wounds.
And do you have an opinion as to the manner of Jennifer Towers' death?
Yes.
What is your opinion, doctor?
My opinion was and remains that the manner of death is homicide.
I have a moment to confer.
You may.
Remember, at the beginning of this trial, the defendant wouldn't even look at the judge when the judge was talking to him. He was staring down at the table. Throughout this medical examiner testimony, he's kept his face up, even though he's doing a number of interesting facial movements, which might be self-soothing. Watched every picture and almost snapped up to attention if he did get distracted when she said it. And in this picture, announcing there was another one on the screen. Quite interesting. I don't think he found it as difficult to watch. It was like part of him really wanted to watch that, and other parts didn't. But I'm not sure what to make of it. That is quite unique.
I have nothing further at this time, Dr. Thank you.
You're welcome.
79 was the number. It was mentioned earlier on. 68 on the dad, 79 on the mom.
Are those the photos and evidence, Ms. Frablin, that you have?
I beg your pardon? The photos, do you need to go into evidence? Yes, they do.
Can we return those to the clerk?
Please don't take the pictures back to your desk, says the judge. Those belong to us now. Now, what do we do? A little sidebar? State rests, kick the jury out. A JOA. And then defense takes over.
All right, defense, cross when you're ready.
Thank you, Ayden. Good afternoon, doctor. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm fine. How are you, sir?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So we noticed in some of those pictures there was some redness and different coloring. Is that from the pooling from being in the prone position for a long period of time?
There is lividity that was present in those photos. Lividity is the pooling of blood that occurs after death, and it did occur because the bodies were in that position for a period of time.
Okay. So the redness that was seen, like different colors, skin colors, doesn't necessarily denote anything other than the pooling. Is that a fair statement?
It is.
There's an image of the hand
It's
on the
the
laptop.
same with if somebody is laying face down after death, you would expect the same pooling in the face area, correct?
Yes.
And could that make it appear as if there was bruising there?
It could, yes.
So all of the different areas where we see redness as opposed to the white, that would be indications of pooling, lividity, and where blood is settling, correct?
Almost everywhere. I'm trying to remember if there were any pink or red contusions anywhere in the bodies. There might have been a little bit of red contusion in one of the cases, but I think everywhere that I saw contusion, it was blue, and we talked about that.
Got it. So when we're talking about the different injuries, you say it's not necessarily from different implements just because they look different. If they're bigger, longer, things like that, that doesn't denote anything as far as different implements, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And I would suggest that would you say the vast majority of these injuries you would describe as superficial?
I would describe them at least as not deep enough to be life-threatening.
Sure. And I think the majority of the wounds that you talked about said that they were soft tissue wounds, correct?
That's right.
And those would not be lethal in and of themselves.
Correct.
When you're talking about the cause of death, that is different than the mechanism of death, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes they can be very closely related. Sometimes they're a little more distant, but yes.
So in this instance, you said the cause of death was multiple perforations, correct?
Yes.
In Mr. Tower's case, there were multiple perforations
causing blood
that
loss.
were caused by stab wounds. That's the cause of death, correct?
Yes.
Would the mechanism of death in that case be essentially lowering the blood pressure to make the heart stop? Would that be kind of the mechanism by which the body would work?
Yes.
Okay. Now, obviously, if there are lots of punctures into the lung cavity, that can create some other issues as far as lack of pressure and lungs not being able to expand. Did you see that in this particular case?
I didn't.
Okay. So essentially, it's the getting of the artery in the neck that is the majority of the problem, correct?
I think those were the most severe of the injuries by far in both cases.
Okay.
But I didn't want to rule out the cumulative effect of blood loss from all the injuries, and thus that's why I didn't single those out specifically, but included the other injuries as well.
And I know that I'm kind of conflating both of them, but it sounds like the cause of death for both of these individuals is essentially the same, the loss of blood from multiple perforations from stab wounds, correct?
Yes.
And that would be a similar mechanism of death as well, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now we're talking about manner of death being homicide. You would agree with me that there's only a finite number of manners of death that you could qualify it as, correct?
There are only 5, yes.
Okay. And that would be homicide, correct?
Yes.
Suicide?
Yes.
Natural death?
Correct.
Unknown? Meaning you don't know what the manner of death is, correct?
We use undetermined, but more or less the same thing, yes.
And what's the 5th one? You said there were 5. What's the 5th one?
Homicide.
We started with homicide.
Okay.
Suicide, correct?
Yes.
That's 2.
Natural, undetermined, and accident.
Accident. Thank you so much. All right. So when we're talking about those things, you're not making a determination as far as legally this is what qualifies. That's more of an analysis to determine across the state how many homicides occur, how many suicides occur, things along those lines, correct?
That's right.
All right. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
But for these stab wounds, they would not have died, correct? Correct. No further questions.
First of all, Doctor, on cross-examination, there was a question about whether either of the victim has sustained any other injuries aside from the knife wounds. Did Mr. Tower have an injury to his head?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that injury consisted of, please?
So one of the injuries that we described was the lettered injury O, and that had it was more of a scrape as opposed to a penetrating blade wound. Let me make sure I'm referring to any other minor head injury that I might have described. In addition to that injury, I believe we saw these in one of the photos, but I can't remember if they were specifically questioned about. There were 2 small abraded contusions on the head, one to the side of the left eye and one in the region of the chin. They were pretty minor, not necessarily very easy to see.
Yes, I did not question you on those, but I am questioning on now. So in addition to those additional injuries to Mr. Tower's head, I want to ask you this final question. If a defendant admitted to killing his parents, would that be consistent with your finding of homicide?
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing else.
The witness free to step down?
He is.
Nothing further.
All right, you may step down now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excuse the jury, maybe? Ooh, he's getting ready.
Folks, in just a moment, we're going to take about a 10 or 15-minute break, okay? So if you can leave your notepads face down, writing implements on top. Don't discuss anything related to your jury service during our break, and we'll bring you back shortly, okay? Everybody please stand. Jurors exiting.
I would say by his body language, his behavior.
Everybody may be seated. Apparently there's something else we need to cover. Let's have the attorneys come forward.
What's going on?
It has to be done now? Okay. You want it done now?
Please.
Okay.
Before they arrest.
All right, folks, there is a stipulation as to the identity of the victims/decedents. Stipulation meaning both the state and the defense have agreed to this, so it is something for you to consider as a fact. I'll sign it. It will go back with you. Let's see, today's the 13th, and I'll read it to you. It is hereby stipulated by and between the parties of this action that the identity of victim/decedent number 1 in this case is Robert James Tower, white male, date of birth August 15, 1974, a human being, and that the jury in the trial of the above listed cause may be advised of this stipulated fact. It is hereby stipulated by and between the parties of this action that the identity of victim/decedent number 2 in this case is Jennifer Christine Tower, white female, date of birth February 8, 1972, a human being, and that the jury in the trial of the above listed cause may be advised of this stipulated fact. All right, let's take our 15-minute break. Everybody please stand. Jurors exiting. All right, Doctor, ready to go?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, State, are you prepared to rest in front of the jury after our break?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gilman, any motions from the defense?
Your Honor, I think that at this point, taking the evidence in the light most favorable to the state, it's a factual determination as far as premeditation is concerned, so I do not have any legal motions to make at this point.
He says, I can't.
Yes, I'll find that the evidence presented in the form of the witnesses, the photographs, the physical evidence, the video of the defendant's statements to law enforcement, of the medical examiner, that there is sufficient evidence in a light most favorable to the state for all 3 of the crimes charged. 2 counts of murder in the first degree and fleeing to elude law enforcement with lights and sirens. So I'll deny the motion for judgment of acquittal as to all 3 counts. This will go to the jury. Mr. Gilman, do you have any evidence that you intend to present during the defense?
Your Honor, I've spoken with Mr. Tower about it. He's indicated his desire to testify.
Okay.
That is against advice of counsel.
Okay. Everybody may be seated.
Boom, there it is.
Any objection to me speaking to Mr. Tower briefly about the legal
against
concept
advice,
of this?
he wants to testify.
All right, Mr. Tower, can you please raise your right hand, sir? You can remain seated. Do you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth?
I swear.
You can put your hand down. Please tell me your name.
Dima, James Tower.
Mr. Tower, I'm going to speak to you for just a minute, and I want to make sure you understand that at no time am I asking you to divulge any specific statements between you and Mr. Gilman. Those are protected by the attorney-client privilege, and I'm not asking for any specific conversations that you have. Do you understand? If you think that I am, let Mr. Gilman know or tell me you're unsure of my question, because that's not what I'm intending to ask, okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The state has just rested their case in chief. They will in just a moment. When we bring the jurors back in, they're going to rest on the record. So at this time in the trial, it's the opportunity for the defense, if they wish, to call witnesses and produce evidence. Do you understand that?
I do.
You might recall during the jury selection process, I talked to the jury. I spent a considerable amount of time covering this with them, that the burden in a criminal case is solely on the state of Florida, the state attorney, and that there is no burden on the defense. Do you understand that? In fact, you might recall I read to the jurors that the defense does not have to present any evidence or prove anything. In fact, I gave the jurors the example that you and Mr. Gilman didn't even have to be present during the trial. Do you recall that, Mr. Tower?
I recall.
Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Mr. Gilman has indicated that he doesn't have any attorneys or evidence to produce at this point, other than perhaps you. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes.
Okay. So now would be the time in the trial, if you wish to testify, that you would take the stand. Do you understand? Now, I also covered this, Mr. Tower, during jury selection. That choice as to whether or not you testify is solely or completely your choice. In other words, Mr. Gilman cannot make that choice for you. In fact, nobody can make that choice for you. Do you understand?
I do.
Mr. Gilman is a very experienced attorney. His job is to counsel you. He can give you his opinion, his advice, talk to you about the evidence that's been presented. But Mr. Gilman cannot make the decision as to whether or not you testify. That's solely your choice. Do you understand?
I do.
If you choose to testify, there would be a jury instruction. In fact, we've already discussed that. You might recall this morning at 9 when we went over our jury instructions. That instruction would tell the jurors that you have become a witness, that they should consider your testimony just like any other witness. For example, there's a jury instruction 3.9 that says, in addition to your common sense, you should consider the following factors when considering the testimony or credibility of a witness. Did the witness have some interest in how the case should be decided? Did the witness say something in court that's different than a statement they had previously made? Was the witness honest and straightforward in answering the attorney's questions? Does the witness's testimony agree or disagree with the other evidence in the case? Has the witness ever been convicted of a felony or a crime of dishonesty? These are just some of the tools that jurors will be using to determine credibility of witnesses, and if you choose to testify, they would use the same tools as it relates to you. Do you understand that, Mr. Tower? Do you have any questions about that?
No.
In fact, if you choose to become a witness, you'll be called just like what we'll do is I believe that you have shackles on your ankles. Is that right?
Right now, yes.
All right, so what we would do is, do we have the sergeant here?
Well, Your Honor, we can do the same as we did.
All right, let's call the sergeant down. We'll figure that out. What we would probably do is have you up at the witness stand so the jurors couldn't see that you're shackled. In fact, they wouldn't be able to see that you're shackled. I see that in this courtroom, the jurors are in front of the witness stand. You would be sworn in by the clerk, just like every other witness. Mr. Gilman would have an opportunity to ask questions first. Your attorney, they would have to be open-ended questions. When Mr. Gilman is finished, the state attorney, one of the two prosecutors, would come up and they'd be able to ask you leading questions. We refer to that as a cross-examination. When the state is completed, Mr. Gilman would have another opportunity to come back. That's called a redirect. And that's what's happened with almost every witness so far. The same would apply to you. Do you understand that, Mr. Tower? Do you have any questions about the procedure or how your testimony would be treated the same as any other witness?
No.
State, are there any prior felonies or crimes of dishonesty?
There are not.
Okay. Do you have any questions about any of the laws that apply if you choose to become a witness?
No, I do not.
If you choose not to become a witness, that's a constitutional right you have. You might recall I spent a considerable time Monday, Mr. Tower, talking to the jurors about that. I explained to them there's many reasons why one might choose not to testify, public speaking being fear number 1, death 2. And I explained to them that it can't matter, that if you chose not to testify, that's something that the jurors could not take into consideration. In fact, the jury instruction would say that. It would say that Mr. Tower has chosen not to become a witness. You cannot consider that decision as any consciousness of guilt. In fact, the jury will be told they can't consider that in any manner whatsoever. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about the laws that would apply if you choose not to become a witness?
No.
Have you had an opportunity, not what you said, but have you had an opportunity to talk to your lawyer and ask him questions before you reach your decision as to whether or not you will testify?
I have.
Do you need any additional time, Mr. Tower, to talk to your attorney before you tell me what your decision is?
Do not.
Okay. And have you reached a decision?
Yes.
And what is your decision?
I want to testify.
Okay. Has anybody pressured you or forced you in order to get you to testify?
No.
Thorough
Are you
lead
doing
up
this
to that.
freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Do you have a clear mind as you're entering into your decision today?
Yes.
Are you taking any medication right now while you're at the jail?
No.
Do you have any questions of the court, anything related to the laws surrounding your decision?
No.
Or your testimony?
No.
Okay. I'll find that the defendant has made a freely and voluntarily and knowing decision to become a witness in the case. So let's take a 10-minute break. What we'll do, any objection, Mr. Gilman, state to having Mr. Tower on the stand when the jurors come back in, you can call him?
No, Your Honor.
No objection.
Okay. And then, so Mr. Tower, what we'll do is, when we come back from a break, we're going to have you on the stand. Again, the purpose is so that they don't see the shackles on your feet, okay? And we'll have you standing in when the jurors come in.
He's going to tell them. I'm calling it. He's going to
tell
tell
the
the
chair so the
he's
jurors
shackled.
can't see it. What will happen is I'll have everybody seated. The state will rest on the record in front of the jury. I'll then turn to Mr. Gilman, your lawyer. He's going to call you as a witness. At that time, I'm going to ask you to stand from your chair. Do so carefully not to make noise with the shackles.
Don't rattle your chains.
You'll stand at that moment, face the clerk. Our clerk, Emily, is going to swear you in. She'll ask you to raise your right hand. You'll be sworn in. You'll have a seat. When your testimony is completed, give me a moment. I'm not going to have you walk back down to your table. Again, we don't want them to know you're in custody and that you're shackled. We'll take a break as soon as your testimony is done. I'll send the jurors out and we'll return you to the table, okay? Unless, yes, let's do it that way because then we'll find out if the state has rebuttal, etc., okay? Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back with the testimony of the defendant. We'll have him on the stand. State, makes you please call any and all witnesses. I want to finish the evidence portion of the trial today, okay?
Yes.
All right, 10-minute break.
All right.
2:50, we'll start at 3 with the defendant on the stand.
That's 11 minutes. I don't know if I expect a allocution. I don't know if we're going to see a tirade, if we're going to see an angry defendant justifying his actions, or if we're going to see a repeat of the questioning that happened in the police station. I don't know what to expect, and I'm not sure if his lawyer knows what he's going to say either. I think there is still an element of I don't care in the defendant. I think we've seen a little bit of that, but there's also an element of he knows the situation he's in. We saw him break down in tears at the beginning of the trial. So I don't know. I don't know if he's just going to straight face tell it all, like the piano murder guy who just walked us through from one step to the next through the murder. Don't know what's going to happen. I don't think it will be narrative form. I think the lawyer's going to walk him through this one, mostly because the lawyer would only be inclined to do narrative form if he knew that his client was going to get up there and say some things that weren't true. And you can't elicit false testimony from your witness. So that would make things rather awkward. I don't think we're going to see narrative form. So the lawyer's going to let him tell his story, probably pretty open-ended, to let his story get out what he wants to say. Judge said no narrative, but I think it will be fairly open. So I think he'll get to ask to say what he wants to say here. Because honestly, look at it. You have the right to testify in your own defense. Wouldn't that be stifling that right if your lawyer refused to ask the question of you that would allow you to say the thing you wanted to say? Now, it's one thing if the court doesn't allow the comment, but I think they sort of have to let him talk a little bit. So I think that'll happen. The state, I'm not sure. They're obviously all ears. They don't know what's going to happen here. The evidence has been overwhelmingly in favor of conviction for murder of some sort. But the evidence that comes in, I can see them objecting if he tries to bring up things that would not be admissible in court. And possibly that has to do with things that were cut out of the interrogation, of the interview. Lots can happen here. This could be the spiciest part of the trial, for sure. Get your screaming goats ready. Yes. Let's see. Just generally, there was a point back there where the conversation started going a little off on some stuff that the speculation and things like that. We asked everyone to just come back to the facts of the case, and let's focus on that if possible. We did issue just a couple timeouts to people when the conversation went on a little. Don't take that personally. We just tried to guide the conversation back, but deleted a bunch of comments from a bunch of people. Thank you, mods, for that. So if you got deleted or timed out briefly, that's probably why, and please don't take offense to that. We just were trying to steer the discussion back towards the case at hand. So let's see. The one thing we don't allow is discussion about moderation in the chat. So if you do that, you'll probably earn yourself a timeout. So and the reason why I say that is because I have a burner phone. I give out my phone number to you, and I answer it day and night. I answer calls. So if you have a concern or a question, I'd like to talk to you one-on-one. It's a lot easier to do that, so there's not misunderstanding as opposed to me trying to guess the tone of someone's voice or question in chat and get it wrong. So if you have an issue with the moderation, do reach out to me. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to take the calls during the live stream. We don't want to air that for everybody, especially if it's a misunderstanding. Chris Wallace just gifted a membership. Thank you, Chris. Greeners gifted 10 memberships. Greeners, thanks for your generosity. Appreciate that. I don't remember, Josh, what your deal was. I'm not sure if there was a deal or not. Let's see. Everyone grab a Snickers and let's not. Yeah, that sounds great. Grab a Snickers. All right. I think all the behavior we saw from the witness was the lead up to him testifying, not necessarily the images from the medical examiner. That's just my gut feel on this. I think there was a degree of him being uncomfortable with the images on at least some level, maybe like a soul deep level, because we saw a lot of facial movements and even a lot of touched his lips for a long time, which is a self-soothing, scratching his face and twisting back and forth in his chair, but at the same time his eyes were just like locked on the evidence, and the blink rate didn't seem to be different than what I'd expect for anyone else in court. Let's see. I won the deal, and Angie Stevenson can confirm. Awesome, Josh. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your epic win. You're welcome. Spreading the joy. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. It sure does. Against counsel. The lawyer says the best thing we can do is not have you take the stand. Why? Because he's seen the police interview. He saw how that went over, right? For an outsider viewing that kind of testimony, telling about what happened, possibly if he gets up there and is just as calm and cool and a little bit arrogant and disconnected as we saw in that interview, for whatever reason, he might have some legitimate reasons for that. We can't really speculate on that. It might really alienate him from the jury, and any sympathy or that might have been building up might quickly fade in the mind of the jury. Molly Caitlin, yes. Next, he will be taking the stand. He is shackled. They will remain shackled. He will remain shackled, which is a great idea because the room does have evidence. This is a room literally with the murder weapon in it, and it's not a gun, so it's basically ready to use at any time. It doesn't have to be loaded, so him remaining shackled gives the bailiffs a fair chance, making sure nothing goes haywire during this little maneuver. Selena K gifted a membership as well. Thank you, Selena. Joni, congratulations. You're the recipient. Kelly H also gifting a membership. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. You kind of make me nervous. I agree. And the Mama Kern, the defendant, first of all, I'll say it seems like he thinks differently than I do, right? Or maybe he thinks differently than I do. have a base value on human life that I think exists even with people I don't like. And speaking of people I don't like, we have a scam caller. This is great timing. Oh no, it's not a scam caller. It's a real caller. I'm not disappointed.
Call from
John McCluggage.
Hey John, this is RA. You're live on the air. Do you want to be off the air or what?
Sure, I don't mind.
Okay, John, how are you doing?
Whatever works for you.
Yeah,
I'm going well. I mean, I love your channel, and I had to bow out for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my sense of humor, I'm not saying it's perfect or, even adequate, but the picture of the woman in a hoodie and the fake AK-47 and the dead deer, that just wasn't funny to me. It upset me. So, I get over it and move on.
I don't remember that picture. I know we showed one with somebody who had a pellet gun, it's like a BB gun, an air rifle, next to roadkill.
and then but
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I felt that was okay. That was my call. I decided to put that on, so I apologize if that offended you.
Well, you don't have to apologize. I mean, we're all grown-ups here.
It's all good.
So I really, as I said, I appreciate your channel, and I just wanted to give you some feedback because, a dead deer is not something, especially one that was killed on the road or whatever.
It actually died of natural causes. So.
Oh, I thought it was hit.
No, I thought it did, but it died naturally. It just passed away of old age, full of food, I think. So
well,
they're coming back, John. I apologize. I can continue the conversation off the air if you want.
No. I appreciate you listening to me, Scott. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you. I appreciate calling. Thanks, John. We'll see you.
Whipple, have you sent the updated jury instructions to Jennifer?
I will send that right now.
All right. Defendant is moving up to the stand. John, I do appreciate you calling. Thank you.
Removing defendant not testifying and including that paragraph defendant becoming a witness. All right, let's practice, Mr. Tower. Practice getting up once you fix the chair.
One down there.
All right, does that work? All right, practice getting up without making noise with your feet. Okay.
So right now, when you start talking,
It's going to rattle. It's going to rattle.
Okay. You got it?
Yes.
Okay. Both sides ready to proceed?
Yes.
Yes,
All right,
Your
let's
Honor.
bring the jurors in. So, Ms. Frabel, you're going to rest on the record. I'll turn to Mr. Gilman, and you can call your client, Mr. Tower, as a witness. Let's bring the jurors in.
Here come the jurors.
All rise. Jurors enter.
And they look over and wow, look who's here. So this is
All right, everybody may be seated.
The
All right,
rest?
State?
Your Honor, the state is resting its case in chief.
All right, the state has rested their case in chief, so I'll turn to the defense. Mr. Gilman?
The defense calls Dima Tower.
All right, Mr. Tower, can you please stand and face the clerk? Madam Clerk, can you swear in the witness?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
You may be seated. Mr. Gilman, when you're ready.
Can you just move up a little closer and make sure you're talking in the microphone there, okay? Can you please tell us your name?
Dima James Tower.
And Mr. Tower, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Okay, and where, I noticed you have an accent. Where were you born?
I was born in Ukraine.
What part of Ukraine?
In far east part, Luhansk.
Okay.
That is borders with Russia.
And when did you come to live in the United States?
I came in 2015.
So you were living in Ukraine in February of 2014 when there was an incursion into Crimea? I use a lot of big words there, I'm sorry. Were you living in Ukraine in February of 2014?
Yes.
Okay. And where were you living when you were in Ukraine before you came to the United States? Where were you living?
Well,
like what type of house?
Before the orphanage?
No, I was talking about the orphanage. Tell me about that. What type of place was that?
Should I talk about my life before the orphanage, or?
We will, sure. How did you end up getting to an orphanage?
I'm going to object to all this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll allow brief background, very, very brief, so let's not spend too much time. Okay?
Sure. And Your Honor, actually, if we could approach briefly.
You may.
I think the defense here wanted to go into what led up to getting him to the orphanage, which was his family basically wrote him off, said we're done with you for whatever the reason was. I don't know the reason. Judge indicating that's probably not going to be allowed, which the defense now looks at what else can I go into? What else can I go into other than that? I mean, this is part of the story. That's what makes him him. But I think they will be allowed to go somewhat into that. But I forgot about the defense attorney.
So how old were you when your mother passed away?
Well, my mother passed away. I would like to talk about, before I would start about talking about my life before my mother passed away.
I understand that. The issue that is that I'm hoping that you can respond to the questions.
Yeah, I can respond to the questions,
Sure.
but
okay. So your mother, how old were you when your mother passed away?
I'm somewhere between 6, 7, or 8.
Okay.
I was thinking about this somewhere between those years.
Okay.
I mean, if maybe I can give a little bit of my personal background or something.
Mr. Tower, the way it's going to work the same with all witnesses. You need to listen to the question and then answer only the question that's been asked of you. Okay?
Well, it's important that
it may be important, but you need to follow the rules in a courtroom. Okay? Please ask your next question.
Sure. Were you just living only with your mom when she passed?
Yes.
Okay.
I was.
And then who did you go to live with after that?
I went to live with my brother.
Okay. How long did that last for?
Maybe a couple months or so.
Okay. And then where did you go?
I went to my uncle's house.
Okay. How long did that last for?
A couple months.
And you eventually end up in the foster care system in Ukraine, correct?
Objection leading.
Yeah, I was in two orphanage for foster care, orphanages, whatever they call that. The first one I was in before the war, and then
Objection.
I was
Responsive.
Not allowed to mention
He's
the
trying
war.
to give a time frame of when he was in the orphanage. You can answer the question.
I was in the first orphanage in that same region I was born in, the same side of Ukraine. And then when the war started, we were moved to another part of Ukraine, which is somewhere close to the sea.
And was it around that time that you met the Towers, that they came over to meet you?
Yes, I met them at, I believe it was end of summer of 2013. I met them, well, I actually met him over here after I was sent to visit for a month in the States. I flew in and met him at the airport.
Was that the first time that you had met them?
That was for the first time, yes.
Okay. And how long after that do you come to this country?
Well, I also came for the second visit. That summer of 2014, I came for the second visit to meet the rest of the family.
And then you come to live permanently when? In 2015?
Well, I was adopted right before the 2015. I was adopted that winter, and I came to live here in 2015. Yes.
Okay. Did you go to school here in Sarasota County?
The questions that you're asking me are very complicated, and cannot be simply answered. But I'm forced to simply answer the questions, which cannot, for no right reason, can be answered simply. These are not simple questions.
Your Honor, I object to the editorializing by this witness. Other witnesses are not allowed to have this kind
He's
of
going to break down.
conversation with counsel.
Let's try not to have speaking objections, Counselor. I'll sustain the objection as non-responsive. Please move on, Mr. Gilman.
Do you remember talking to law enforcement in this case and telling them that you went to Northport High School for a little while?
Yeah, I went to, right after I was adopted, I went to the school in Northport, Woodland Middle School. And then after I did half a year in that, I enrolled in Northport High School.
Okay.
Which I dropped out of in 10th grade.
Okay. And did you know any English before you came to the United States?
No.
How did you learn English?
By conversating here and there, small talk.
All right. And how long did you live with the Towers prior to, either graduating high school or moving out?
Again, this is a complicated question, and
Objection to narrative.
the answer, it can be very long because I moved in, I moved out.
Objection to narrative.
I'm going to sustain the objection as non-responsive.
Okay. You said you dropped out after 10th grade. Did you move out after that?
No, I stayed, but I didn't really move out on my own. It was just too many family issues.
Okay. And you were not living with them when did you move back in with them prior to August the 31st of 2023?
I don't understand the question.
So in August of 2023, which is the incident that we're talking about, how long prior to that were you back living with the house? 'Cause I know you had just moved back there, correct?
Well, yeah, I assumed that. Yeah, I assumed that.
We need a break.
Do you need a moment, Mr. Tower?
Remember the jurors, let's take a break. Leave your notepads face down, writing implements on top. Please don't discuss anything related to your jury. Everybody stand, jurors exiting.
He has a good grasp of the English language, but I believe him when he says that I don't understand the question. It was a compound question, which can be very difficult to process. I mean, there's English and then there's compound question English. And most of us who are native speakers struggle at that point.
Why don't you spend a moment with your client? We can't tolerate this kind of behavior here in the courtroom. I've already spoken to your client about it. So let's take a 5-minute break. Let's let the defense have an opportunity to talk to the defendant. See if he can go forward on the stand.
The problem we have here is he's under oath. I don't think you can do that. He's under oath. He's a sitting witness. I don't think you can talk about his testimony without the other one there. Here's what I see so far. The state obviously doesn't want to have presented that he's a child affected by war in Ukraine with Russia. In the minds of the jury, that sympathy. I think it's appropriate for that part to be kept out, although I think the timeline is okay. I think the judge was okay with what we heard. We are seeing frustration on the part of the defendant, who thought, I think, that he would get to tell his story, and now he's being asked very limited questions that are skipping over his story. The part where he tells people you wouldn't understand, he's not able to talk about that part, and now they just won't understand. So he's getting quite frustrated and emotional as well. I think the emotional side is that once again he feels railroaded, and I'm not saying that this is right. I think he's guilty. I think he knew what was right and wrong, and he chose wrong. But I think possibly his understanding of the court system, the rules of court, and a little bit the language are not doing him any favors at this point. He wasn't prepped. I think this might be a good analysis there, because they talked for like 30 seconds and they're like, yeah, we're good, we've decided. And he said, oh, we'll talk after. And we heard him say, what questions I'll ask and things. I don't think the defense lawyer understands what the defendant thinks he's about to do when he takes the stand. Man. Cultural competency. I see this, and at the same time, I think that he knows enough to know that what he did was wrong. That's my personal gut feel. So he basically has thrown away his chances It is upsetting a little bit. Why couldn't he talk to the narrative? Selena, I think in this case it's because he wants to talk about things that the court has ruled, either through motions in lemonade, those pre-trial motions, motion in lemonade, that it can't come in, that there's things that are not relevant to the case that would be used to garner sympathy that are not applicable, that don't apply here. Defendant wants to narrate. I do wonder if there was any sort of evaluation. I haven't seen in the docket if there was any sort of evaluation. But even so, that evaluation just proving he's not insane. I don't think it would grasp the complexities of his situation. I think he understands. He talked to the cops before. But this is the same thing we saw with the cops as well. I mean, it's a poor analogy, but when an infant is too young to express themselves properly and tell you that they need a change, or they're hungry, or they're just uncomfortable or something, that frustration, any parent has seen that in a child, where they just cry. They're just they're bursting with whatever feeling it is, or emotion, or desire, or want, and they can't communicate it. And I think we're seeing that in a 24-year-old adult on the stand right here. I don't think this is all an act. If it is, I bought it, and maybe that's on me. But I don't see other areas of his life where this would indicate that this is an act. Am I the only one who thinks he should have had an interpreter? That's an interesting thing. Speaking the language and understanding the complexities of it are two different things, especially in a courtroom scenario where even the vernacular is different. Just an empath feeling bad. His history can mitigate level of punishment, but not guilt. The problem in Northwest, though, is they've charged him with capital murder, and they're not pursuing the death penalty, and the minimum mandatory is life without parole. So there would be no mitigation if the jury finds him guilty of capital murder. They would have to do a lesser included for there to be room for any mitigation. Otherwise, it's just the rest of your life in prison. It is hard to see the prosecutor as the nice guy here. We're talking about a kid who has been passed around by his family. I mean, before he's even 8 years old, he's been passed around between family members from one to another who either didn't want to or couldn't care for him until he ends up in the foster system. 2 different orphanages in Ukraine. The way I heard the story, the parents first met him when they were over in Ukraine doing a church visit of some sort, like a missionary type experience. That's how I heard that they first met him, and then then you've got these arranged visits where he says he first met them there. I'm not sure if he just doesn't remember before, but that's got to be traumatic. Doesn't justify murder, but traumatic. I don't know if we've heard there were no priors. I don't think he had any priors. Nothing's been brought up that I know of that he had any prior law enforcement interactions. think an interpreter would help. D.D. Repture, I think the prosecutor is too scared of the jury coming back with a lesser conviction. I guess it looks bad in the world of prosecutors to prosecute a case with a double murder with 160 some odd stab wounds to 2 people and get a manslaughter conviction, which is something that might be handed down after a car accident where someone was racing. There does seem to be a mismatch there, but the law is not a perfect fit. It never is. It's designed, to try to cover everything, and nothing just fits smoothly into all the nooks and crannies and intricacies of the law. Allie from Tennessee, can't bring emotions into deliberation. People need to remember this. It's based off evidence in the law. Like I said, if we excused every defendant because of us feeling sad for their trauma, it would be bad. I agree. The jury will be told you can't make a decision based on sympathy. So that's why the judge is saying, so let's not have any sympathy-inducing moments in the court, because we know that those would not be allowed in to influence the decision. State never wants mitigating factor because they want the perfect. They're always going for the max. This would be a hard jury to sit on for a number of reasons. Yeah, you can't downgrade. I'm reading a lot of comments here, just trying to catch up. Got another burner phone call. Let's see who this is.
Call from Dana Wood.
Dana, this is RA. You're on the air. How are you doing?
Not bad. Yourself?
Not bad. Got to warn you, the judge will probably cut you off, and I'll have to cut this short. So talk fast.
I was just thinking about these things. Golden rule. He knows he wouldn't want somebody to stab him, so he knows he shouldn't do it to somebody else.
Right.
But B, for somebody to really claim that they're so insane they didn't know what they were doing, like they'd have to be so bad off that they can't function, that they would have to be in care. So like if you're well enough that nobody can take away your right to decide, then you're well enough to take responsibility for your decisions.
I agree. You can't have
like
the best of both
worlds. That's just how I look at it.
I think he does know right from wrong. I think under the Florida law, he is not insane. That doesn't apply in his case. He knew what he was doing at the time. That was clear from his actions, the deliberate nature of his actions. Getting another knife, following his mom out, dragging her back into the house, finishing the job, running from the police. All that was pretty apparent. The defendant just came back.
But also those who are calling for an interpreter, absolutely, because he clearly doesn't have the level of comprehension for like this formal setting.
Okay, and able to continue.
He's back. Yes. Thanks for the call.
Okay, no
we'll
problem.
I understand why we took the break, right? I can't have that kind of show of emotion in front of the jury to. That applies to you and every other witness. You might recall I even said that about the folks in the audience. Do you recall that, Mr. Tower?
I do.
Okay. Are you able to move forward in that
I am.
position? Okay. Also, Mr. Tower, the way a jury trial works is the attorneys, their job is to ask questions, and your role as a witness is to answer the questions that are asked of you. You understand?
I understand.
Okay. Mr. Gilman, anything we have to discuss before we move forward?
No, Your Honor.
You had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Tower about
the
procedure and how we'll move forward?
I did.
All right. Anything else to discuss with the state?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Both sides ready to bring the jurors back in?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let's bring the jury back in, please.
believe there has to be accountability. There have to be consequences. But just locking him up for the rest of his life and leaving him broken is not the solution. Prisons are terrible for people with any sort of mental health issues, and those can come about by, childhood trauma for sure.
All right, jury member.
All right, everybody may be seated. Welcome back, members of the jury.
Laura Fry.
All right, Mr. Gilman, when you're ready, please continue.
Mindy right. Cindy, 29 months OG.
And Mr. Tower, I want to focus you on when you sat down and talked with the police down there in Venice. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. Was that the first time that you had ever had that kind of encounter with police?
Yes.
How'd that make you feel?
Awkward. Made me feel awkward.
Hold on, one moment. I'll overrule the objection.
Okay, why would you say it makes you feel awkward?
Because I'm uncomfortable talking because I had many miscommunication and or not enough communication or misunderstanding with my adopted parents. So I grew up into not knowing how to talk.
Objection, non-responsive.
Overruled. It was completing the answer. You may continue, Mr. Gilman.
So when you were talking with the police, did you understand everything that they were asking you?
I did.
Did you feel like you answered appropriately given that you were uncomfortable?
No.
Okay. Do you remember talking with them about multiple times having thoughts of killing your parents?
Yeah, I only had those thoughts a couple times.
Okay. Did you ever have a plan in place to make that happen?
No, I did not.
Okay.
So no premeditation. They're trying to get rid of that.
I don't think I have anything further, Judge.
That's all they can do.
Stage the cross-examination when you're ready.
Are they going to ask him anything? That was quick. No, I did not. It had a couple times. I never had a plan. If they can get rid of
Are
premeditation.
you going to look me in the eye, Mr. Tower?
Objection. No, he will not.
Let's not. So you said you didn't think about killing your parents.
I did not plan on it.
Mr. Tower.
It was not premeditated.
Mr. Tower, when I ask you a question, you can answer, but not until then. You pulled out a sharp knife and you walked into your parents' bedroom, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. What were you thinking about between the time you took that sharp knife, walked into your parents' bedroom, and started to stab your father in the dark?
I wasn't thinking anything.
You weren't thinking anything.
What is there to think?
I don't know. Your parents were sound asleep, weren't they?
I don't know.
Was your father awake when you started to stab him?
It was pitch black.
You picked up a knife from the kitchen and you cowardly went into your...
Argumentative.
Sustained.
Were your parents awake?
I don't know if they were awake. I already answered it.
He objects to the question.
Yes, me. Second time.
What did you say?
You're asking me a second time the same question.
What did your father say after you stabbed him?
What the hell are you doing?
And then what happened? Did you stab him again?
Yes.
Okay, what were you thinking about between the first stab and the second stab?
There's nothing to think.
Nothing to think.
What am I supposed to think then?
Listen to me. There was nothing to think. That's your answer. All right. So you're telling me that as a human being, you walked into your father's bedroom with your mother sleeping next to him. The parents that brought you over here.
Objection, argumentative, compound question.
These people were not my parents.
Hold on. I'm going to overrule the objection. It's a bit compoundish, but I'm going to allow it. You may continue with your question.
Thank you. The parents that brought you over here to this country, and you weren't thinking anything.
These people were not my parents. There's a lot went on that changed our relationship.
That's not my question. My question is, are you telling this jury that you won't even look in the eye that the people who brought you over here and gave you a home, that you were stabbing them and you didn't think anything of it? Is that what you're saying?
The answer's too complicated for you.
No, it's not a complicated answer. It's a yes or it's a no.
It's not. It's a complicated answer.
However, you told the detectives that you were a nobody from nowhere, didn't you?
When I was talking to detectives, I was not in my completely right state of mind.
Mr. Tower, did you tell the detectives that you were a nobody from nowhere?
I just answered your question.
No, you didn't.
I said I was not in my right state of mind when I was talking to detectives. I just went on a lot, you know.
Let the jury recall what they did.
Objection, argumentative.
I was under the influence of alcohol also.
I'll sustain that it's unresponsive. He's not answering your question.
I was drunk at the time.
Parents.
They were not my parents, unfortunately.
Sir, you cannot interrupt the attorney. Wait for them to finish their question, and then you can answer the question asked of you, okay? Please ask your question.
Mr. Tower.
This is going off the rails.
The people that brought you over here, they gave you an opportunity to be a somebody from somewhere, didn't they?
It depends on their parenting.
What?
It depends on their parenting, how you raise your children.
Depends on the what?
You don't even know what I'm talking about.
No,
Have you ever been a mother of children?
After you stabbed your father to death, you walked outside with a knife in your hand because Jennifer was outdoors, wasn't she?
I was temporarily insane.
Sir, can you please sit back from the microphone? It's difficult to hear you. Thank you.
All right. When you walked out of the house after you killed your father, did you carry the knife with you to lead Jennifer back in?
I did.
You did or did not? I can't understand.
I said I did.
You did. You took the knife with you to go out and find the person that adopted you.
Yes, I was temporarily insane, as I said.
Temporarily insane.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Members of the jury, I'm going to ask that you strike that last response. There is no insanity defense. There is no evidence presented in this trial to insanity. So I will just order that you not receive that answer. It's irrelevant, not permissible during this trial. Okay? Please ask your next question.
Thank you. Were you thinking about killing your mother when you went outside with the knife and led her back in?
What do you mean by thinking?
he's winning this exchange, even though he's not winning the case. The prosecutor can't handle him.
Did your parents buy you a car?
Objection outside the scope.
What does has to do with this?
Did your parents buy you a car? Answer my question.
Well, I know where your question is. I know.
Answer
I don't
my
understand.
question,
I don't
Mr.
understand your
Tower.
question. I don't understand it.
Did your parents buy you a car?
I don't understand this question.
Did your parents get you a bank card?
Yes, and I don't understand it. What's the point of this question?
Did your parents get you a bank card?
So?
Did you have a TV in your room?
No. What's the point of these questions?
You told the detectives that you were thinking about killing your parents for the last several days. Isn't that true?
That is not true.
Were you in the courtroom when your recording was played? Mr. Tower,
I was.
were you listening?
I was listening.
And did you hear that you were telling the detectives that you were thinking about that for more than a day?
Again.
You don't remember that part?
Again. I did not know what I was saying. Also, I only taught this a couple of times. This was not a constant thought in my head.
Okay, so you thought about it at least a couple times before you did it?
No, I taught it one time, and the second time I taught it, I did it. There was no thinking about it.
You thought about it the first time, and then you put it off. Then you thought about it the second time, and then you went and did it? Is that right?
Correct.
That makes it premeditated.
Okay.
She got him on that.
So when you thought about it the first time, where were you?
Probably in the car somewhere.
Where in the car? Parked in front of your house?
Possibly. Very possibly.
Very possibly.
Well, I don't remember. You asking me a question that happened a long time ago. I don't remember.
Okay. Why did you ask your mother to go back inside the house?
Brought her off the street. I don't know.
Because you wanted to kill her, didn't you? Did you hear the doctor talk about how many times you stabbed your mother, Jennifer Towers, the person that you say is not your mother? How many times did you stab her?
You're talking to someone who has no understanding.
You don't understand that question?
No, you don't understand what you're saying.
How many times did you stab your mother?
Interview.
I didn't know.
More than once?
Yeah, more than once. I don't know how many times.
More than twice?
You've seen it how many times? So we were all in here. You've seen it.
Because these members of the jury have a right to hear what you have to say.
Objection, Your Honor.
They don't hear what I say because I'm not allowed to say
Let's
it.
not have an argument between you and the witness, okay? Let's ask your next question, please.
These jurors are not allowed to what I have to say.
Hold on. Mr. Tower, you need to wait until the question is finished and then answer the question that's asked of you, okay? Please ask your next question.
Thank you. You told the detectives that you stabbed your mother to death, but not until you finished what you had to say to her. What did you have to say to her that night?
Oh,
there was a lot went on between the three of us.
What did you say to your mother before you stabbed her to death?
I'm answering your question. You're not listening. There was a lot that went on between the three of us. It wasn't just a parents and a child.
So there was a lot that went on among the three of you, correct?
She gave him an open.
That's what I just said.
Okay.
That I'm being stopped from talking about.
How old were you when you killed Jennifer and Robbie Tower?
21.
You were a grown man, weren't you?
No, I was not. You don't know what the definition of a grown man.
At 21 years old, why didn't you just move out if you didn't like the people that you were living with? Why didn't you just move out?
The age has nothing to do with it.
Mr. Tower, why didn't you just move out if you didn't like the people you were living with?
I did move out a long time ago. I came back.
You went to West Virginia, didn't you?
Before West Virginia, I moved out. I just told you there was a lot that went on between the three of us. That the judge and the state won't let me talk.
Mr. Tower, do you believe in free will?
There's no free will. You know, we're all controlled in the states.
Mr. Tower, answer my question. It's a simple question. Do you believe that people have free will?
The answer, the question is not simple. If you look around, this is bigger than us.
Prosecutors frustrated.
When you went to live in West Virginia, how long were you up there?
I lived other places before West Virginia.
I didn't ask you about that. I asked you how long you lived in West Virginia.
Maybe 9 months, 10 months.
And what were you doing up there?
Working.
Who set you up in that place to live in West Virginia?
There was a church that I found. The pastor over there helped me.
You were living with Jennifer's father in West Virginia, weren't you?
That was a long time ago before I went to West Virginia to live on my own.
Please answer
You get it
my question.
you
Mr.
get the
Tower,
questions mixed up.
Mr. Tower, did you live with Jennifer's father in West Virginia?
That was a long time ago. That was not during the time when I went there by myself.
Why did you go to live in West Virginia when you were living with Jennifer's father?
The time that I did go to West Virginia to live with her father was because
why?
I'm gonna answer. Let me think about it. We were having fights in the family, and I was gonna visit. I was gonna see him for.
Could we
maybe
have
for a
him
couple,
move away
maybe
from
for
the
a couple
microphone
months.
so we can hear?
Maybe for a couple months, I was gonna visit him until I went to Job Corps.
Yeah, who set you up in the Job Corps? Jennifer, didn't she?
What is your point?
Did Jennifer set you up in the Job Corps?
No.
Did Jennifer set you up to live with her father in West Virginia?
No. What is the point of your question?
Remember, you're under oath, Mr. Tower. You're
I know I'm under
to
oath.
tell the truth.
You're making no point in your questions. You're forgetting there was
Mr. Tower, you need
father.
to wait for a question to be asked of you and then answer the question, please. Please ask your next question.
You made
He has a
Jennifer
problem with
and
women.
Robbie's life in their home a living hell, didn't you, Mr. Tower?
Again, there was a lot that went on.
Yes.
Yes, but
Yes.
some adults don't know how to be
Yes.
parents. Yes.
You made their life a living hell.
No, I didn't. There's some adults don't know how to be parents. You don't know what you're talking about.
In fact,
I came from a harsh environment.
many people come from a harsh
Yeah,
environment,
but
and they don't
gotta
feel
know,
their parents.
you gotta know how to treat those people correctly so they grow up properly.
Yeah, so how do you need to be treated?
I have been treated. It's too late for that. I'm adult now, but you're talking as if you don't know how to be a parent, and you don't know what it takes.
Are you a parent?
No, I'm not a parent, but you're asking me
You made their life
Pointless
a living
question.
hell. In fact, your father told you that you were destroying his marriage
If I
to
made-
his wife. Isn't it true?
If I made their life a
Mr.
living hell, that's probably had something to do with them.
The two of you are just talking over each
No,
other.
he's
Ms.
refusing to
Ragley,
answer.
You're asking a question. He begins to answer, and then you add to your question. Mr. Tower, when she's speaking, you then begin to answer. And what's happening is none of us are catching the question nor the answer. So let's please follow the procedure that we've done all throughout the trial. Let's please do a question, then we'll do a pause, and then the answer. Mr. Tower, I need you to answer the question and not ad-lib and add to it. Okay, sir? Please ask your next question, Ms. Freitas.
Did your father tell you that you were disrupting his marriage to Jennifer Tower, his wife?
Jennifer told me that before the adoption, that in the beginning,
He's not,
Rob.
not responding.
I'm responding. Rob did not want to adopt at all, and then he wanted to adopt a daughter, and then finally he agreed to adopt a son. So he didn't really want to adopt to begin with.
Mr. Tower, there was no question related to wanting to adopt other children.
There it
the question was calling for a yes or no response.
Well, he didn't really want to adopt me, is what I'm saying.
Mr. Tower, if you can please listen to the question and answer yes or no. Please ask the question again.
Thank you. Did your father tell you that you were destroying his marriage to Jennifer?
I was not destroying his marriage to Jennifer.
The question, sir. The question was, did your father tell you that? Did your father tell you that, yes or no?
What do you want me to say? He doesn't know how to love his wife. What do you want me to say?
Right. I'll sustain the objection as unresponsive.
She's
going to
stop here.
Answer. Please move on to your next question.
Who paid for your flights in 2013 and 2014?
Estate, at some point, I'm going to cut off all these questions about perhaps benevolent acts. You can go a bit further, but let's start to move on. Okay, I'll overrule the objection. You may finish your question.
Yes. Who paid for your flights to the United States in 2013 and 2014?
This question is pointless, but however, the company who provided who had something to do with adoption did. And I don't understand what's the point of this question either.
Why did you drop out of high school?
Because I was being brainwashed, as the rest of the children are.
You dropped out of high school because you were on the verge of getting expelled, weren't you, Mr. Tower?
What expelled? Do you even know what they teach in schools? What are you talking about?
Mr. Tower, answer my question.
I'm answering your question. You don't know what you're saying. These schools today, they don't teach anything the kids should know. And the schools are not for everyone.
Mr. Tower, you dropped out of high school because you were on the verge of getting expelled from high school.
No, I wasn't. I'm telling you that. You ever been to school? You know that schools don't teach kids proper education.
Mr. Tower, stop talking.
I'm talking because you don't know what you're talking about.
All right, let's move on to the next question. His answer was no. Please move on to your next question.
Judge is about to cut this short.
In fact, you were about to get expelled because you were fighting with other children in the school and on the bus, weren't you, Mr. Tower?
No, I wasn't. I just told you what happened.
How old were you when you dropped out of high school?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? How old were you when you were in 10th grade?
I said I don't remember.
I think he's clearly lying under oath. No further questions? I don't know what you can get out of this. You've already got premeditated. You admitted to. I don't see what this is.
When you were sitting out in your car before you went into the house on the night of August 31st, did you decide to kill your parents before you walked in?
Yes.
That's premeditated. No
I don't
further
have anything
questions.
else. Thank you, Your Honor.
redirect, Mr. Gilman?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to take a short break, 5-minute break. Please leave your notepads turned over, face down, writing implements on top. Everybody, please stand. Jurors are exiting.
Wow. I have never seen a questioning go off the rails quite that badly with the back and forth. The lawyer
You may
lost
be
control.
seated. Mr. Tower, you can return to your table next to your lawyer, sir. Mr. Gilman, any additional evidence, sir?
No, Your Honor.
All right, state any rebuttal witnesses.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Watch him. Yeah, the bailiff staying between him and the prosecutor.
So what we can do is we can bring the
That's
jurors
not by
back in.
accident.
Mr. Gilman, you can rest on the record. Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll send the jurors home. It's 3:53. We'll have a brief discussion on jury instructions, and then we'll head home for the night. We'll start at 9 o'clock. Does that work for both sides?
Yes, Your Honor.
9 o'clock, I'll read the jury instructions, and then we'll go straight into closings. We'll provide lunch for the jurors so they can begin deliberating right away, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's get the jurors in and out. Deputy Carl, can you bring the jurors back in?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh my goodness, the hot mic right here. I told you not to do that because they tried to get you to do exactly what you just did. Yeah, but you weren't asking the questions that I told you to ask. Lawyer, we shouldn't hear this, but we do. Oh my goodness. He said, I'm just defending myself because who else is defending me? No one else is defending me. Just need to tell something about telling a story. He says that's what the closing arguments are for. Oh, wow.
All right, welcome back, members of the jury. Everybody may be seated. Mr. Gilman.
At this time, the defense rests, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, both the state and the defense have rested their cases. So what your job is done for the day. We're going to do a little bit of work here in the courtroom. We're going to start back up tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Let's start at 9 o'clock. Does that work for all our jurors? Yes? We'll bring you in. I'm going to hand out to you the jury instructions. It's a package of the law that applies to the case. I'm going to read that to you. And then as soon as I'm done reading the law, the attorneys will make their closing arguments. We'll send you in to deliberate with lunch, and we'll await your verdict, okay? So have a nice evening. Again, don't watch any news. Don't read any articles, papers, blogs, anything related to this trial. We need you to come back in the same way that you are today. Leave your writing implements, notepads face down. Make sure you take all your belongings. Have a nice evening. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Everybody please stand. Jurors exiting.
So the defendant clearly had some ideas about parenting that that differed from, that of the Mr. and Mrs. Towers. He expressed in the interview with police that the man should be the in charge of the home, and there were times that the woman took charge, and that was wrong in his eyes. I think that attitude might play into the hostility he feels towards the female prosecutors as well.
Hey, Jen, did you get an updated email with the jury instructions?
I did.
Can you bring down just one packet for me quickly? Thank you. Folks, let's take another look at the jury instructions before we adjourn. Other than that, anything else we need to talk from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Folks in the audience, we're just going to go over the jury instructions now. It's not very exciting, really. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave. It'll probably be about 15 or 20 minutes, and then we're going to adjourn for the day.
We're staying, Judge. We're here. Let me say this. I think this defendant, when he gets convicted, which I believe he will, because the evidence is overwhelming and his own side admits it, he admits it on the stand. When he gets convicted of whatever the charge is, I think he has an argument for a retrial because of ineffective assistance of counsel. I don't think he understood.
Will you have them up in front of you?
Oh, give me 1 second.
And did you send those to Mr. Gilman?
I have them in front of me.
You're able to pull them up too?
I have them in front of me, yes, Your Honor.
Great. I just need them in front of me.
Yeah, that's easy.
I don't think his lawyer took the time to make sure he understood. And I realize he can say yes and no and conversate, as he said. But I don't think that explains the answer. I think there's a disconnect in his head thinking in Ukrainian and in his mouth speaking in English. There's a mistranslation.
You can call, not cancel. Keep it on. Is that what it was? I thought I said you would call and let him know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not cancel.
Correct. All right, I have them in front of me. Can we proceed?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Okay. Introduction and final instructions. Any objection?
No objection.
Statement of charges. Any objection?
No objection.
And again, these are ones that will really, let's remind ourselves, we already went over these. I'm going to make sure I look to see based on the additional evidence. We had the FDLE expert.
He speaks
Dr.
Russian,
Vega,
Ukrainian, and English.
Mr. Tower, who testified. All right, we have introduction to homicide. That's legally accurate. We have
No objection.
count 1, first degree murder.
No objection.
Count 2. When I was reading the stipulation,
They were swapped.
They were swapped in the stipulation. So I don't know if you want to point that out to the jury or not, but I don't think obviously that will be confusing. But in the stipulation, you identified Jennifer Tower as number 2 and Robbie Terrio as 1. But on the on your counts, they're the opposite. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Count 2. We have murder in the first degree. Those are legally accurate. We have fleeing to elude, law enforcement. Any objection by either side?
No, Your Honor.
All right, lesser included crimes to count 1, first degree murder. We have murder in the second degree and manslaughter, both sides in agreement.
Yes,
yes, Your Honor.
All right, I mentioned it. I thought it was appropriate to bring it in front of the jury. It was completely improper for the defendant to make the statement that he was insane. There is no defense raised. There was no designation of insanity. I don't know where the defendant got that from. I hope he wasn't doing that in an intention to intentionally mislead the jury. But of course, neither side is permitted to make any argument, reference that, or any discussion in front of the jury related to that type of defense. Both sides understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we have murder in the second degree. The lesser included with the count 1, victim Jennifer Tower. And then we have manslaughter next, victim Jennifer Tower. Lesser included for count 2, murder in the second degree, victim Robbie Tower, and then manslaughter for Robbie Tower. Both sides in agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, no objection.
All right, the state has updated the 3.7 plea of not guilty, reasonable doubt instruction as I requested earlier this morning. Any instruction now? Any objection now?
No, Your Honor.
3.9, weighing the evidence. We agreed to 1 through 5. Do any of the others apply?
No, Your Honor.
No.
All right, the only one I thought maybe would be any statements given in court that might be inconsistent with previous statements, but neither side are requesting that. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. We have the defendant becoming a witness. That's appropriate. Mr. Tower did testify. Any objection to this instruction as it is?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, 3.9b, defendant's statement. Ms. Freiberg, this is why I overruled your objection as to what he was feeling or thinking at the time he gave the statement to law enforcement. I think that's something that jurors are able to consider. So any objection to 3.9b?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
3.10, rules for deliberation. That's legally accurate. Cautionary instruction. Single defendant, multiple counts. They took out the information part, which I ordered, and the plural on documents. It's legally accurate now from my perspective. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
No.
All All right, we have the verdict instruction and the verdict form. It has the defendant's name, case number. Count 1 has A, guilty as charged. B, murder in the second degree, a lesser included. C, manslaughter, lesser included. D, not guilty. Again, guilty, not guilty are not italicized, not capitalized. There's nothing drawing any attention to any one of these options. They're perfectly aligned. Count 2, the same applies for count 2. Count 3, same thing. Guilty, not italicized. Nothing's in any way uniquely or highlighted in any way. We have no lessers. Both sides agreed. As to count 3, the fleeing to elude, we have the month and place for the foreperson to date and sign it. Lastly, submitting case to jury, we discussed as legally accurate. Any objection to the instructions as they currently are?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, I think they're legally accurate, comprehensive, and appropriate in this case. So I'm going to make copies for all the jurors. Are you folks able to make your own copies for the evening so you can prepare?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll have a copy on your desk in the morning, just so you have exactly the same copy from my stack, but you have a working copy so you can prepare this evening. All right, Mr. Gilman, any renewed motions for judgment of acquittal now that the defense has put on a witness?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'll deny the renewed motion for, if there was one, I'll find that there is sufficient evidence for the jury to find the defendant guilty as charged.
Didn't make the motion
based on
twice.
The evidence
Both times it was denied.
And even in light of the defendant now taking the stand. Folks, have a nice evening. If you can just be ready to start up at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, okay? Yes, sir. All right, have a good night.
The last hot mic from the defendant was, some people are too stupid to understand. I guess some people are too stupid to understand. Or something very close to that. But sadly, I think the part that he wanted to share did come across pretty clearly, and that was that in this adoption, that his dad didn't want him. His dad didn't want adoption, first of all. He wanted wanted a younger, I forget what it was, didn't want to adopt at all, and then said they wanted to adopt a girl, and finally agreed to adopt a boy, and that has been prolonged throughout everything. That any problems that existed in the marriage was because his adoptive dad, didn't know how to love his wife. They weren't from him. That was clearly a deficiency on the dad's side. We get that indication that that's the problem, because he starts with his dad, and I don't think he started with his dad just because he was bigger and could fight him off. But I think that's where the anger and the focus existed. Ivan, if you got a minute, I'd love for you to call. Narrate us through a couple things. I think you might have some perspective that might be quite insightful. Give me just a second here. Okay. There we go. Let's hold the phone here for Ivan just for a second. If he's still available. Hey, there we go.
Call from
Secretary of Immigration.
Ivan, Secretary of Immigration, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to make yourself
Yes,
available.
Anything from American people.
What's your take on this?
Yeah. Well, my takes will be left in a box for the better of the channel. However, I just wanted to point out the incredible ineptitude it must take to have a person admitting to killing people somehow get set up for a slam dunk point on the state of education for no reason at all.
If that resonated with a lot of people who, my family, we've decided that homeschool is our best option. It's not that all schools are bad, but it didn't fit us.
Of course. You're just giving the guy an alley-oop for no reason. What's the point of this? Like,
yeah.
And so much of her questioning was, what is your point, lady? Like, you don't get to just beat up on a guy because you know he's not from here. He didn't ask to come here. That's a whole other issue. But the point is you're just expecting him to, conduct himself on some sort of, same level as you. And for what reason? Like, look me in the eye. Like, who are you, lady? Like, who do you think you are? Like, I mean,
she lost it. I mean, I realize he was frustrated in there, but she lost her cool. So much so that the judge had to say, "Yes, you're the problem too. Dial it back. You're doing it wrong."
You literally got into a tussle with a person who is not from the same place as you, and he's literally admitted to the worst things there are to admit to, and you somehow made him look empathetic. Like, to me, you should just retire. That's the end of your line. You've had your run. Quit because you stink. I mean.
Wow. Yeah, I could sense it going off the rails. I mean, it started off with a bang, right? It was a little aggressive, but it really just exploded. At one point, like a yelling match, and the judge is like,
well, and shame on the judge, because the judge is who's supposed to control all that. Yeah. That's on him. Like, he tries to rein it in after he left the circus in town. Like, gee, I wonder how it's going to go. Like,
the defendant did. Every time the judge gave him instructions, he'd listen to the judge. Yeah. But the prosecutor asked him something. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just stupid to understand. I just told you. You just asked that question already. And I mean, it wasn't artful. It wasn't in the terminology of courts that we're used to. But he was intellectually, I wouldn't say intellectually. He was winning an argument or scoring points in an argument, even though he's losing the war. Is what I'd say.
Well, because she's setting him up with all these ideological points that she isn't making the way she thinks she's making. Like, she's delving into waters that she has no reason to. You can't tell me she followed the oldest rule in the book of knowing what he's going to answer. How could anybody know how he's going to answer? He's totally been unpredictable. So you're just spitballing with a reckless person. Like, what does that make you, lady?
Who has nothing to lose.
Like,
and he comes at her and says, "What? Are you even a mother? Do you even have kids?" I don't know if she has kids or not. She did not. She was biting her tongue at that moment and asking her if she even went to school.
Said, don't ever argue with fools because it gets tough to tell who's who pretty quick. And so that's sort of the trap she fell into. Is she got into a match with my old man also said, "Don't pick fights with people with less to lose than you," and she broke all those rules. So,
but
anyway,
but honestly though, there's an issue at play here that sadly I don't know what the solution is. Right? Clearly, he's guilty. He's guilty of murder. He may even be solidly guilty of first-degree murder. But how do you fix this? Okay, it's don't just like, well, don't adopt. Right? There are kids who deserve adoption. That's for no reason.
Maybe don't think that you just need to bring the most tragic thing you can ever think of is kid in a war-stricken orphanage. Like, maybe start smaller. Maybe bring somebody from Canada. Like, maybe aim a little lower. I mean,
I'm sorry, Canadians, we love you. I don't know. It's
all right. I gotta go.
Ivan, it's good talking to you. We got to talk offline sometime. Hope you're doing well. Before you go, let me show this. I've got. This is Ivan sharing a couple pictures of what the last two nights looked like from his place.
Oh, yeah. It's God's free LSD trip. That's what he's doing. He's giving everybody a freebie, and that's what the Northern Lights are.
Yeah, it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Those are going to be my Christmas lights this year. I'm not hanging up just any decorations. Oh, Ivan, I think. Oh, I thought you dropped off. Somebody else is calling. Thank you, my friend. Love you, man.
Yeah.
Catch you later. Bye.
Call from
AWOL.
From Ivan to AWOL, 2 4-letter words on the channel. How are you guys doing?
What's up, Scott? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, AWOL. Love to get your take on this. I know you've been in chat. Bring it home for us. What's your takeaway?
I mean, I just want to say this. Regardless of any trial that we watch, we have to be careful that we don't put ourselves in a walled garden. Mm-hmm. That might be a little heady, but if you put yourself in a walled garden where only you can smell the flowers. You can't expect everyone else to appreciate those same flowers or those same fruits of your labor if the walls are around your thoughts or your garden. You have to welcome people into your ideas and your thoughts. Obviously, they might not all be cohesive or might not agree with you, but don't live in a walled garden, and it's tough. It's so hard to do that.
Yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you felt that the defendant should have been allowed to share more of his backstory than that was allowed to be brought in here. Is that correct?
It's a tough decision because I did check Florida law on being able to give a narrative defense, and it gets a little squirrely I'm a law-based person, even though emotionally, I'm not an emotional person, but emotionally, I'm like, let them talk.
Right.
But that's not how a courtroom should work. This is what the law is written black and white on paper. If we don't like it, then let's petition, let's go to the Supreme Court, and we could change it. But if the law is the law, then we should all act accordingly, and that goes for the state and the defense, vice versa.
Yeah.
So if these are the rules that both sides should play with, I think it should be handled fair, and the judge is the referee. But since humans are not perfect, as I always say, it gets a little sketchy. So I don't know. I felt like he wasn't allowed to speak his mind. Maybe his attorneys weren't good enough. His attorney wasn't good enough with the objections. I don't know if the state did any favors for themselves, but due to the heinous crime that this was, even if the state acted bad, I don't even think she could have messed this up, because what are we going to do? Like, he did what he did, right?
Yeah. I agree.
So it's
I feel bad. Good. I feel bad looking at this. He's facing life without parole. Okay. And you're like, how do you take somebody who clearly was broken, right? And arguably through no fault of his own. When a child goes through scenarios like that, there's damage, right? There's scars from an upbringing that bounces around with nothing solid, and the people closest to you just leaving or leaving you. How do you say, well, tough, you did a bad thing? That doesn't sit right either, right? But you can't fix it. You can't say, oh, sorry, you had a hard life. I understand. We'll make it as if you only stabbed him each once, and it may be accidental, and we'll just call it manslaughter and make it good. I don't think you can do that either. There has to be justice, because I think he knows right from wrong on a basic level. But it leaves something hanging out there that I think needs to be addressed, and I don't know how to do it.
And you know what? You're right. I don't know how to do it either. I don't have all the answers. I have more questions than answers, if I'm being frank here. I have more questions than answers as far as the system is concerned. But I don't know. This is tough. I mean, every case, every trial, every human, every upbringing, you have nature versus nurture, and you also have environment versus culture. No, I don't know. I don't know what your life is like. You don't know what my life is like. I don't know what anybody's life is like unless you're around me. But I can't just assume that because my life is a certain way that obviously yours should, or you should act like how I act. That's not fair either.
Yeah.
So I don't know what level of grace we have to show, but I still think that justice has to prevail at the end of the day. At what level does justice meet that bar? I don't know. I don't have answers for that. But I think this is a way to form a conversation or form a debate or critical thinking without emotions. And maybe we should just think about it and steel man the other side's argument. And I don't know if this will ever work. You know what I mean? I'm getting super heady right now, so I'll hang up. But
it's a heavy case, and I hear you. Thank you very much, Awal. I appreciate your analogy with the walled garden. Thank you for the call, and do call again, of course. I know you know the number. So.
Yes, sir. So I just want to say this, everybody. I love you all. You all matter. You are all important. Love yourself and hug yourself. Thank you, RA. Thank you, chat, and thank you, mods. Everybody have a good night.
Thanks. You said it great. Thank you, AWOL. Catch you later.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Later.
All right. I think all of us, to some degree, are a bit unsettled after that. Most of us want to hear the story that the defendant has to tell, just because on the human level, I think he does have, he is a victim as well in some things. Not in this crime. I don't think he's a victim, but he's a victim, and the human side of us wants to say, you know what? That sucks. That sucks that happened to you, and it shouldn't be that way. And, if we see something like that around us, we should, do our best to fix it in little ways that we can, just in our own communities. I think Dr. Greeners, you're going to call. I think that's the natural part of it. Unfortunately, the court is designed to look narrowly, almost like a horse with blinders, right? The horses that pull carriages in the streets, so they don't get spooked by other cars driving by or people running around the sidewalk. They wear blinders, and they can only see what's in front of them. And the court treats crimes like this in that same way, where it really just limits what anyone can see, specifically the jury, related to the crime, saying this is the issue. Did this happen or did it not? Is he guilty or is he not? And it has to be this black or white, check the box, which one applies. Now, recently with lesser includeds, that gets some gray areas where the jury does get a little leeway and they can, go one direction or another with that one. But sometimes there's a case like this that feels like it doesn't fit in the box, and limiting it to just what the law says should come in doesn't give you the whole picture that you would need to understand what happened. Now, I think the jury has heard everything they need according to the law to make a decision. But I think if they vote guilty, even they will go home and feel like they only heard it just scratched the surface of what led up to this. But maybe there's a possibility for him to share his story. But it'll be from prison. It'll be from behind a jail cell, most likely, because that's most likely where he's going to spend the rest of his life, as he admitted twice to the prosecution to the one factor that just distinguishes murder one from murder two, and that was that it was premeditated. And they thought about it beforehand, waited, and then did it again. They thought again and then took action. So that was the win the prosecution needed, and that's the one they closed on the cross. So it's heavy. It's heavy, guys. I think there is room for an effective counsel. I think not that the counsel did anything wrong, but that they failed to ensure the client understood. And I think the client thinks in Ukrainian or Russian, whatever it is. I think that's still where his mind is. He's never made the connection of the U.S. of his native mindset, right? It's still not him. And I think the lawyer should have gotten an interpreter for the process of intervening or working with his own client to make sure he understood. I think that's where it is. All right. I know you've got a palate cleanser, but I've got to wrap it up because we've already started the music. Josh, thank you very much. I don't know how to say this. I owe Red Pen an apology. Red Pen, I'm so sorry. The call that came in that took issue with something that wasn't an issue, I disagree with the call. And that's my call. I'm sorry. Our mods are amazing. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone who put up with me today. Thanks, mods, for making it a wonderful place. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people we love. You love. We love. Hug everybody. Smile at someone to make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe. We'll go live again tomorrow at 8:45. 8:45. You guys have a good night. We'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, there's a podcast tonight. Podcast tonight. Don't go anywhere. There's a podcast tonight, 8 p.m. I'm sorry. Podcast, don't miss it.
Someone with more experience.
Hello?
What more do you need to see? How does he do that?
There's nothing in the order that restrains you from talking to cats.
Well, thank you.
If they didn't, I would lose my mind.
Hello, hello?
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
I saw a chicken fight.
I'm not a cat.